Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of stage 2 of the Challengers Elite series. And of course, this is where all the Call of Duty action will be played for the Challengers entire competition. This is where the stage has been set, and these are where the teams will enact all of their revenge against some of their former rosters, because there's been a lot of roster changes for North America and Europe. But as always, we will be bringing you guys through the action for week 1. I'm Spaceman, and that is Fox and Ali, my co-commentators and analysts who will help break down all the different roster manias that have happened. But guys, it's a new day. Welcome in. We have Europe up first. Fox, how you doing on this new day?
I'm feeling good. We had an awesome match yesterday to end the night. Bunch of game 5s, and then an exciting return of John that I think set the night off right.
Ali, it was a ton of game 5s, and then you and I closed out the night with a very quick, swift 3-0. Easter looked good, but just another example of where roster changes have become the fold for amateur Call of Duty. We'll leave it at that. But how did you enjoy the matches yesterday?
The matches yesterday were so competitive. Like Fox mentioned, the 2 best of 5s right off to start the day were just insane. And then going into the NA region, seeing some of our new teams and new rosters, because NA, had much crazier of a roster mania than I feel like we did in our EU side. So it was definitely an exciting day space.
It felt like the ratio was for every one roster change in Europe, there was 3 or 4 in North America. But there was a lot that really went down, and we'll get into some of that. But let's take a look at the standings, because again, we have Europe up first, and that is where we're going to be looking for the majority of this afternoon. It's Passion, who are at 2-0 at the top of their group. They've only lost 3 maps, and we got to see them yesterday, and they looked really, really good. I love what this team has been able to put together in Bids, Weeman, Denza, and Hixie. I'm very excited for the future potential of this roster. Elite 2 in that second place, but Orglis are right behind. And then you have Train Hard all the way down to 67K, which we will see them later today. So 67K at 0-2, and again, a roster that we will see coming up in our second match. They're going to be playing Orglis, so a relatively big matchup, because Orglis has a chance to move into the top 2 spot. 67K wants to move out of that relegation zone, but we still have a couple of weeks before that becomes an issue. Fox, anything surprising standing out to you so far? I think for me, just Rams being at 1-1, the team that walked away with the championship last season. Now they are sitting at number 5.
Yeah, that's certainly surprising to see. Of course, just our first night of matches, the best team, one of the best teams in Europe, being at 1-1. I think that if you go back and watch that series, anyone at home, if you didn't get to catch it, you'll see that it was highly competitive all the way to the end. It was a game 5 fashion. I think that for the Rams, it's really only up from here.
And you look at, a team like Orglis with Vortex, Nasty, Josh, and Harry, and Ali. This was a roster that, they're runner-ups in Europe, and they arguably are the number 2 best team. And now we have new blood that's risen to the top, and finally it looks like, as we kind of shake out all the dust and dirt from the offseason, it seems that new rosters that have made changes are finding ways to beat the old teams. And this is something we might not have expected. What were you looking at as kind of the matches played out yesterday that stood out to you?
Well, no, that actually is almost something to be expected, just because the teams that do end up sticking together sometimes just can't progress as fast as the teams that do end up making roster changes, because it is such a drastic change so quickly and roles are changed up so much. And so you look at the teams that kind of, stayed together, and they're watching all these other teams kind of catch up and do all these exciting things. So it's almost like the gap kind of gets shortened every time there's a little bit of a break and a couple changes get made in both regions.
Yeah, absolutely. And our first match being Train Hard and Connect 4 means that we get to take a little bit of a peek at the schedule, because we have 2 matches for each region every single day. You guys know how this works, and we enjoy doing it. It's Train Hard and Connect 4 up first, followed by 67K, who again are 0-2 against Orglis, who are still fighting to make it into that top 2 conversation. We're sure they can do it. And then North America at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern, UT Crew versus Built by Gamers, and Aerial Arise versus the actual Wester roster, who we actually hopped in with them at the end of their game 5 against Hire, and Wester were able to take it. Another interesting roster change and situation with Wester, but looking at the matches that cross the board, and more importantly sticking with Europe here today, guys. Train Hard and Connect 4, 67K and Orglis. Connect 4 and Orglis, I think a lot of people, just as a casual viewer, are going to latch onto those rosters, latch onto those teams, not only given the success they had in Season 1, but given the players on said rosters. You look at Connect 4 up first. I mean, Linny, Dave, Nolson, and Joe. There was a conversation at a time where Dave was the number 1 AR in Europe. Now he's getting back into that form. And Ali, you even were talking to us, in Discord before we went live, and you said, hey, keep an eye on Linny. He's an absolute freak when it comes to being able to lock down series, and I'm going to be looking at him today. With that, Ali, what are you seeing out of Linny, and more importantly, this Connect 4 roster that you're really taking note of?
The thing about the Connect 4 roster that I've especially noticed in their respawn is they won't necessarily outslay you, but they will get those critical kills that, end up getting them those hardpoint wins. And, when you look at Slang, I immediately look at Lenny, because even though his numbers don't go that high when it comes to S&D, he is so annoying on the map when it comes to respawn. I mean, he is constantly dropping, at least +5, +10 positive. And it's just, it's such superstar that you need running around on the map and just being super annoying. And that's what I saw out of him when I was watching their hardpoint matches.
Fox, you're looking at this team again, and again, just kind of bringing this olive branch out a little bit further. We looked at John last night, and we understood what John was able to do. And now we look at a team like Connect 4, and I look at Joe a lot as like that European John, and just in terms of a sub, because you look at the numbers across the board, and while in season 1 they weren't super impressive, one thing that did always stand out to me was Joe's understanding of S&D and Joe's continued ability to put himself near the top of the leaderboard and the continuity between games, right? He was consistently finding a way to find first blood and or be a clutch player when it came down to winning big key gunfights. And I've always looked at Joe as kind of a European version of John. What do you think it means for Dave, who is again fighting for that AR title, to have someone like Joe and someone like Nolson as a sub duo behind him and rely on them the way that he does?
I think the comparison to John is interesting. I think it's certainly close in terms of the presence when they're running the submachine gun, but I don't think that the comparison is there at all when it comes to how powerful of a sniper John has shown he could be in the past. But still, in terms of the support that he provides to his ARs, like Dave, that's something, that kind of duo that John has always had, is with a powerful AR to back him up. We've seen it previously with JCap. There's been so many different examples and options. Sure. I think that comparison is perfect, and it's just a great supporting cast to have on board with you.
Yeah, and one of the things that always used to stand out to me is just the fact that Joe could always find a way to get into the objective, get his hands dirty, but find ways to like chain a couple of kills together, and it helped everyone else move the game along at a steady pace. And now let's move into actually what the maps will be for this series, because there are some interesting new additions coming to not only the CDL, but the Challengers division as well. We've moved some maps in, we've moved some game modes out, but at least for this series, it's standard across the board. It's Garrison Hardpoint, Raid S&D, Garrison Control, and then Moscow for the final 2 maps. And guys, just starting with basic bare bones, we have Garrison twice and Raid to split it up. Pretty standard from what we've seen so far in the start of Challenger series. Allie, were you expecting us to be looking at Apocalypse and or Express today, or are you just seeing, no, this is kind of how it needed to be?
No, not really. I definitely expected the teams to stick to what they know, especially when it was such a soon of a change, and I'm sure no teams had that much practice going into them. So I don't expect it to be a map that's, I would say, vetoed out, but I definitely don't think it's not a map any specific team is going to go out of their way to pick out of this map pool.
And Fox, usually we see Raid S&D as that final game 5. Not saying it doesn't appear in that second slot, but Moscow now getting pushed down to the end. That usually takes the second slot for S&D. A bit of a flip here. Am I thinking too much into it, or do you think this was a strategic move?
It's a tough call, right? I think that these guys are just picking the maps they're best at. They want to stay comfortable. Of course, Express S&D is something that they're familiar with. Apocalypse is a little bit newer to them, so maybe it's just kind of sticking with what you're used to.
Yeah, we haven't seen Apocalypse play yet. It was in the rotation yesterday. We didn't get to that point. I believe it was with Eastern Higher. We saw it for Game 4 Hardpoint. And Express S&D has not yet shown up. And again, that is in place of Garrison. But we do have Garrison Control. We have Garrison Hardpoint. And if you guys remember just 18 hours ago, or a little less than that, what Easter were able to do on Garrison Hardpoint, how dominant you can be if you have green control, if you're able to lock down lights. And now we look in a similar situation. So kind of looking at this series as a whole, we haven't talked a lot about Trainhard, but I think it's important we do. Continuing that same core duo, or trio, I should say, of Whalers, Keza, and Henry, and they bring in Detain from Singularity. So this is a new look Trainhard from last season. Of course, last season it was Whalers, Keza, Henry, and Hydra. Hydra, of course, now on Subliners Academy, and that team used to be known as Gangsters. They get picked up by Trainhard. Congratulations. But Hydra's out. You bring in Detain. I feel like if there's any team, at least for a starting matchup in the new part of the season, to take down a team like Connect 4, not the Connect 4 some juggernaut, but Trainhard are stacked across the board. I mean, Allie, looking at Whalers, and now you bring it to Detain, but Whalers and Henry, who have been absolutely lights out in Season 1. Can you talk to me a little bit about what you expect this team to be able to do to counter the ARs on Connect 4 and to counter a sub like Joe?
Well, actually, when I watched Train Hard the other day, Detain and Henry were actually falling a little bit behind. They had definitely a big of a slow start. And I was focusing more, we already talked about Whalers, but I was focusing more on Keza, who really started to be more consistent for this roster, which is something that, again, we didn't really see in Season 1. And I don't think it's going to be much about shutting down. Of course, you need to shut down Dave, arguably one of the most top ARs in the Challengers Elites. But Whalers has already been so consistently good. I'm definitely favoring Train Hard going into this. They just all around look like a better team than what we've previously saw.
Now, Allie, do you think it's going to be, and this is just a generic caster question, but I'm going to do it anyway. Do you think it's going to be a quick, maybe 1-0, 2-0 lead for Train Hard, or do you think that the map set, I mean, we saw Raid in essentially game number 2, then Moscow to close out the series. Are we going to be pushing this to a potential Moscow?
I don't think it'll go that far the distance. I do expect, I see on the side of Garrison, I know how good Train Hard is at Garrison, and if they just get more consistent with their rotations, they might be able to just kind of lights out Connect 4.
Well, the game begins, and that means I will shut my mouth, and I will leave it up to my two wonderful casters. Fox, Allie, have fun on the first series of Europe, and I can't wait to see who comes out and stomps their prowess through that lights control. I'm going to have fun, but you guys, take it away.
Hopping right into the action. Excuse me,
hopping
right into the action.
all right, he's going now.
It's all right. We're both excited to get the day of Call of Duty started. Garrison Hardpoint's going to be our first map for the day. Allie, thank you so much for joining me and being part of this. We got Connect 4 facing off against Train Hard, some French players in the lobby. We mentioned them briefly. I'm going to be keeping an eye on Whalers. He's someone that I really enjoy watching play in the European region. Of course, lots of competition and lots of exciting performances possible in this lobby of superstars in the European region. We're looking through the eyes of Keza for Train Hard. You guys mentioned that this is someone you expected to see step up a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we talked about, he's already 3-0 currently and able to go up 4. He does finally get taken down by Joe, and Lenny answers with 2 of his own. But points already going the side of Train Hard, not to mention they are going on rotation as well. Nolson is there for Connect 4, but he gets quickly shut down as there's 3 members of Train Hard already onto this P2. So like I talked about Train Hard earlier, if they get more consistent about getting rotations early, this could be a bit of a lights out game for them as they already have spawns and setting up for this next hill.
Connect 4 leading by just a few seconds. Train Hard does have that initial time. As you mentioned, it's going to be Keza and Detain taking point. Closest one to the action on the opposite side is Lenny and Joe. Look to see them put pressure on Bricks. Shot in the back is Lenny, as Henry's going to be the one to take that kill, leaving Joe all on his own, surrounded by a sea of white arrows. He's caught as well. That's 4 straight for Train Hard as they wipe Connect 4 off the map.
And this is going to start looking scary for Connect 4 because they do not want this final 30 seconds going on the side of Train Hard. But if they also give up this rotation, Train Hard has been so good about getting set up early and kind of shutting down that first wave. And Connect 4 really need to start getting on top of that. Dave and Nolson both having a bit of a slow start, 0-4 and 0-6 respectively. You cannot come out in this hard point in this Challengers Elite Series this slow. And Train Hard are starting to really punish them for it. As once again, that's number 8, Henry. He's trying to pick out Nolson and try to work on this rotation. And again, Train Hard is up 66-21. They can take this slow. They can take their time when they're trying to break into this next hill. They don't need to worry about getting in the back early. And already number 5, Whalers, he's getting to the back and pushing to try to pick off Dave, who's holding spawns for Connect 4.
Whalers falls. He had the Krig in hand. What you saw yesterday on this map was a lot of QBZ usage, especially from that of Dave Patty. Excellent performance from him. If you haven't gotten the chance to see it, go back and watch. That man shows you exactly how to move around this map with an AR. We can see the performance from Whalers and Henry combined has been able to keep Nolson killless up to recently. He found his last 2 kills on this hard point. The first 30 seconds, a good portion of it going to Connect 4 as they start to pull themselves closer into this game. Trailing behind by about 20 seconds, we see Train Hard pushing up through middle map for the next offensive push.
That was almost a big play by Keza to get into the small and try to maybe wait for his teammates, but he got picked out just a little too early. So a lot of time going on the side of Connect 4, but now they need to worry about pushing out as Train Hard is just waiting for those spawn kills and holding this front line going into this next P3.
And as we move to P3, we see Henry trying to play for his life here. He tosses a well-placed Semtex, but the Flak Jacket's going to save the enemy player, and he does survive this encounter. Of course, still surrounded by those red arrows. They've got to be hunting him right now. Looks like he might have given him the slip. He tags up one player. He's the trigger discipline failing right there as he's not able to find the kill, and they end up catching him on middle map. Now it's going to be up to the remaining Train Hard players to finish off the engagement as Connect 4 continues to mount up more time. Still trailing by about 10 seconds. We see most of the gunfights going down on the hill, and they're all going in favor of Connect 4 as Nolson, the last alive out of all of it on a streak of 2, will maintain that hill time. It looks like we're going to see our first lead change as well as Trainhard mounts the positioning for their next push.
Fantastic break out of Connect 4, and like I said earlier, this is not a team that's going to outslay you, but the critical kills are really what keeps them into this game, as it is 93-82. You have Joe going 5 and 10, Nolson's 5 and 9. They are not outslaying in any means or way. As Trainhard, Henry 13 and 4, Whalers 11 and 8, Keza 8 and 7, Detain falling a bit behind, but again, the engagements are just not there for the side of Connect 4, yet they're keeping this game so close, and that's so huge for them. But time first and foremost going towards Trainhard now. We might see another lead change. Connect 4, it seems like they just keep getting stuck in this spawn trap. They need to push their way out. Joe almost makes it.
Players close enough to contest it, but as we rotate to the new hard point, that's priority number 1. Connect 4, they know that. As they're behind by 30 seconds, this next hill should be able to even up the match a bit.
Henry, who I guess heard my opening statements, ended up going on a 6th streak there. He is 16 and 5, good 43 seconds in the objective time as well. But again, this game is only 20 points. There's no room going on either side of the team right now, as Connect 4 is inside of the hill currently. They're going to be set up for new. There's still 40 seconds left in this hill. Number 5, though, that's Whalers. He's going to try and sneak in, and it works out as the cavalry comes and backs him up, and that's 2 down. On the side of Connect 4, Linny trying to do something in mid, but he gets quickly shut down, and now Connect 4 is spawning it across map, and not only that, they need to start worrying about rotation, as there's only about 20 seconds left going into this hill.
Yeah, we saw right there, Linny actually pushed that hill by himself, 1v3, when there was about 40 seconds left on the hill. It might have been more strategic for him to wait for his teammates. In the end, they do end up getting some of the scrap time here. Whalers currently on a 5 streak. Looks like he's opted to just go for the rotation. They've given up that time. Surely it's because they expect to be able to hold down Satellites. Great composure. Still ahead by about 10 seconds. They know the pressure's coming in from Bricks. Kez is tagged up. That's one of the first spots they look at. So you'll see him jump over the arch there, go for the hip fire kill. He's able to get one. With the support of Henry, they connect with a second before Keza falls. But still, we see the Connect 4 players are able to outnumber and overwhelm them on Satellite. And we might see another lead change here coming in soon.
Fantastic break out of Dave and Nolson to push their way in through Bricks right there. And now all of a sudden Trainhard spawning across map. Linny's not letting anybody get near break. That's 3 down for Trainhard. There's 1 left on his own, but the team, there's only so much he can do by himself. And now it's 30 seconds going on the side of Connect 4. Nobody from Trainhard is close enough to contest that hill. So we possibly will be seeing a lead chain here, as it is now up 156 to 139. We're going to be out 170 going into this next hard point. And again, Connect 4, they aren't outslaying. Joe is 9 and 18. I am so scared of what they can do if they start picking it up and slaying out here.
5 streak, Nolson evening himself up at 14 and 14. He's in position with the Krig. Top green is right where you want to be. It's an easy entrance straight to Catwalk. Detain was trying to get him off of, but you see just how hard it is to do that when they're already pre-aiming you. There's only but so many directions that you can come from to stop this power position, and he's got it on lock. Initial hill time going to Trainhard as Keza and Detain are in position. We got 3 arrows swarming in, so close. Henry spots one of them shooting from above. He's able to find a kill. It's 2 in a row for Trainhard. Connect 4, they're able to answer right back. Hill control still not confidently on either side. Nolson's going to drop some score streaks though, and that should be the support that they need to take it.
Score streaks on the side of Nolson takes out 3. Unfortunately, 1 was his teammates, but now control's going on the side of Connect 4. Trainhard, they need to play closer to the hill. They were just incredibly too spread out and allowed all 4 members of Connect 4 to flood to the front and get them out of the hill, use streaks, and able to gain spawns. So now their lead is just growing bigger. Of what was looking like a full Trainhard game, Connect 4 is just pulling it back into their pace.
Connect 4, 3 players in hill as they're grabbing that scrap time, up by about 50 seconds. Joe still double negative, and these guys are pulling ahead as they hit that 200-point mark to close this game out. Trainhard, we got some pretty stellar moments coming out of players like Henry and Whalers. I mean, look, Henry's 23 and 9 right now. Whalers has been in great positions with the Krig all game, but it just doesn't seem to be enough. Ali, what do you think is going to be what pulls Trainhard over to the end here?
Trainhard needs to start playing together more. They can't answer all 4 members of Connect 4 that keep pushing into the hill. As you see right now, the trades are just always ending up in their favor, and Detain, people like him are always left on his own. So they need to start playing together more, else they're going to see this hard point get away from them.
23 seconds remain on the hill in control of Connect 4. Trainhard looking to push up again. All 4 players funneling through the same route. Let's see how it works out for them. Keza is able to break through as he finds a kill. Whalers with support in the front line as well. They still need to get towards bricks, but they have so many players to deal with around tank. And it looks like Connect 4 is able to secure it. They clear them out, get the scrap time, but they're still not close enough to bricks for this new hill. And they have the spawn, the favorable spawn of Connect 4 to deal. Well, not quite the favorable spawn, but a very timely positioning from Connect 4 in this. They would be able to close it out if they can't break it soon. So the pressure's on Train Hard. And with that pressure, they find 3 kills and flip the hill. Excellent, excellent push from them. And now they have Connect 4 on their back foot once again with that western side spawn.
The problem with this is Train Hard has to play perfect hardpoint from here on out if they want to dwindle that 40-point lead, as only 9 seconds are needed on the side of Connect 4. They cannot give up any scrap time, not to mention let Connect 4 get early rotation going in the next hill. And already here it comes. All of Connect 4 has taken down Train Hard. There's only 2 members left. They have to get in. There's 5 seconds left. Henry needs to go off and kill something. Not unable to. Whalers can't get in. That's 1 second. The contest comes in, but Connect 4 able to pull away with the hardpoint, going up 1-0 in the series.
Yeah, and if you're Connect 4, you got to be really happy with how the later stages of that hardpoint turned out. I mean, they were able to get that far in the game with Joe double negative. The second time they got to that Bricks Hill, I think that we saw a big improvement in terms of how they broke through that unfortunate setup. Right when you're spawning so far away in that corner and you have that big open space to get through, it can be really difficult to get to the objective. But they pour through arches, they take control of bricks and satellite, and they're able to get on the hill and get the final few seconds that they needed to secure the win. So great effort from Connect 4 to find that hardpoint win without anyone on the team particularly delivering in the kill column, right, Ali?
Yeah, no, and that's something that they're kind of famous for doing. I've watched the other hard points as well, and it's never they're out engaging, it's never they're out killing or out slaying. It's always they're just always pushing together. Every single time to break the hill, it's always 4 of them just getting a clean wipe, and then just the time of the respawn and another full wipe coming in for that first push. And that's just how they rack up that time. It's never just somebody pushing out and out slaying. It's just getting the critical kills on the map, and I think that's such an incredible thing on the side of Connect 4, because again, you look at Slay and you expect, oh my god, he's 21 and 10, you expect that team to be winning. But Connect 4, they don't need that to win, and that's an incredible, to me, great job out of Connect 4.
Something else to point out as well, because of how close this game was in terms of being less than a minute in score differential, is the impact of those score streaks. We saw that they got 2 kills, and then of course the team betrayal, but with the damage and the kind of zoning potential of a score streak like that, when you're dropping bombs from the sky, that kind of support is huge for taking over a hard point. I think that we saw Connect 4 capitalize on it in that moment. Train Hard, got to give great recognition to players like Henry and Whalers. I really liked what I saw out of them with the Krieg. I think that they contributed in a very meaningful way to make this game closer than it could have been. We can take a look at their stats right now. I mean, Ali, what do you see?
And I talked about they were, pretty even across the board. If you look at Whalers, positive KD overall. Keza's a little shortcoming overall. Hydra, though, 1.53 S&D, 1.0 hardpoint, 1.04 control. Again, it's not that they're getting outslayed. This team has so much potential. If anything out of them, I just wish I would have saw cleaner rotations. I wish I would have saw them set up closer together, because I really felt like that was their downfall. Because even though this is from season 1 and we talk about it, it's still across the board from the hardpoint that we just watched. They were still all pretty positive. They were still all pretty consistent. And all it came down to at that point was their setups. They were getting 4 pushed from one angle, and there was only 1 or 2 players from Train Hard that just weren't able to answer that type of pressure. So I believe as they kind of connected together a little bit better and played for their trades, they would have had greater success in that hardpoint.
Jumping right out at you immediately should probably be Hydra's 1.53 KD and S&D as well. Very important for sure. He's got some support alongside him with Whalers at the 1.02. Tough game mode here. I'm looking forward to see how Train Hard comes together in this search and destroy. I think that hard point has to be disappointing for them because they had so many players delivering in the kill column, but just not enough of a cohesive effort to maintain the objective. Connect 4 had great maneuverability, great presence from their submachine gun players, even if they weren't contributing in the kill column. Just the high amount of engagements and their presence on the map was felt, and that's what carried them through to victory in the end, Ali.
Yeah, and so I want to take a look at the maps real quick because as we go into this S&D, Connect Four, they're both pretty good S&D teams across the board, right? On Train Hard, you're looking at Henry, you're looking at Keza, and you're looking at Whalers, and you look at Connect Four, and you got Dave, who's just been slaying out. You have Joe's IQ on the side of Connect Four going into S&D, and I really think the win condition here, at least for Train Hard, if they want to take this raid, search, and destroy off of them, is they need to catch Connect Four out of position. That seems to be Connect Four's biggest downfall when it comes to S&D, is that they just kind of get caught out of position and they start falling behind in rounds. And so I think if Train Hard can start capitalizing that, I've seen them in some very good decision making going into S&D. We might see a little bit of flip going in the series here, Fox.
It's going to be an exciting one. Raid, a map that everybody loves. Ali, can you tell us a little bit about what's so great about this map?
Well, the thing about Raid in the traditional map pool in most competitive Call of Duty is, 3 lanes. That's typically what makes a map a good competitive map, is the 3 lanes. And Raid is honestly such a huge traditional of that. You have your pool side, you have your mid, and you have your statue. Those are your clean and cut 3 lanes going to competitive Call of Duty. So I really think that's what makes it not only a household name, but a name everybody knows and loves, that is Raid.
And what an estate it is. I mean, if you have a room dedicated to your money, you're probably in a pretty good spot, right? This guy's got a building for the laundry. Like, I just think whoever's in that place is balling or
don't forget the Lambo garage.
Oh, how could I forget the Lambo garage, right? And then the one parked right outside for easy access. The art building is just filled with paintings. A beautiful, beautiful map. I guess not to mention the pool that doubles as a waterfall off the side of a cliff. Pretty epic. But Raid overall, it's something that fits in so many different game modes. You're going to see it often here on the broadcast. Hardpoint, search and destroy, and control. Of course, we're just getting ready for the players to load into this lobby to start up the search and destroy. Is there any player in particular on the side of Train Hard that you're looking out for to contribute in the search and destroy here, Ali?
On the search and destroy, I'm definitely looking at Whalers and Keza. I talked about them being kind of the duo throughout this series thus far, and I expect them to, kind of continue doing that. I'm also looking at Detain a little bit. Again, I talked about their decision making and the way that they play on SD. It's just a beautiful map overall to watch. So I'm favoring Train Hard a bit going into here, and I know I talk about my predictions a lot, Fox, and I do have to ask you if you have any opinions going into this on who you think will end up capitalizing on this SD.
I'm looking for Joe on the opposite side for Connect Four. He's such an exciting player to watch in Search and Destroy. Of course, he gets a lot of recognition for his flanks, on sometimes to his detriment because of how predictable they can be. He's someone that likes to waste your time in Search and Destroy. Waste their time is Joe's forte, and he's so good at it. So I'm excited to see how it unfolds here on Raid. We saw, again, if you're just tuning in, the conclusion of that Garrison hardpoint. Lots of back and forth, many lead changes all the way up until we saw the 200-point mark reached. We saw the Connect Four was able to perform throughout that map with Joe going double negative. So just goes to show that stellar positioning and prioritization of the objective goes a long way, Ali.
No, absolutely. And the thing about the EU is that I feel like all of our matches have really gone the distance. They've all been pretty close. I feel like in the EU region, there haven't been too many shutouts, which I feel like is kind of a thing that we see a lot when it comes to the NA. So that's, I feel like, what is so exciting about the EU is, everybody wants to make their statement. Everybody wants to make their name known. And some really high caliber competition that we're talking about. I mean, I'm looking at Lindy on the side of Connect 4. I mean, he is just slaying out and going to this S&D. If Train Hard are unable to shut him down, I mean, again, Connect 4 could go up 2-0 in the series. However, though, I do want to look a little bit in the distance for going into our Garrison control. Train Hard, I just want to talk about the stat real quick, are 2-0 in control on Garrison and 3-0 on Garrison in round count on both times. So, I mean, Connect 4, if I'm Connect 4, I'm worried going into that. And so I feel like that's already a map that you can chalk up on the side of Train Hard. So like I said, they're going to go the distance. EU has continued to go to the distance, and I feel like we'll continue to do so in this series.
That's a really intimidating stat. And if their opponent doesn't know, they're about to find out. That's something that you got to be rolling into this map with confidence, right? That's something that you have to have in your back pocket, in the back of your mind, is that, yes, we have Garrison control on lock. But even if the conclusion of Search and Destroy doesn't go our way, there's always that potential to bring it right back. Having that dangerous Game 3 potential is certainly something to keep in mind. Again, on Raid, Search and Destroy, we have seen usage of the QBZ, not so much as on Garrison, but so far in this lobby, haven't seen it pulled out just yet. It's really just been the Krieg and the AK-74U. I'm wondering, Ali, do you have any kind of hot take on as to which is more useful and when?
At some point, it's a little bit more of just a personal preference when it comes to the Krig and the QBZ. The AK-47U, I mean, that's meta. That's just going to be your sub regardless.
Right.
But when it comes to the AR, I am a Krig fan. I will stand by it. I watched John use the Krig yesterday and just put on an absolute clinic. I will continue to stand by that the Krig is probably better in the meta personally. The QBZ, I feel like is definitely, it's kind of a mid-range gun. It's in between, being a full AR and being a sub, with its, rate of fire speed and with the damage that it does deal. And I don't know if we're going to see it in the meta for too long personally, but as long as it is in the meta, I do see a lot of our challengers using and abusing it continuously.
I really like the mention of John yesterday with the Krig. He's someone that when he has that sort of automatic AR that he can use aggressively is when he's at his strongest. I think we saw a lot of that in Black Ops 3, the Man of War, when that was popular in the gun meta. He was someone that was really on top of it. He's someone that has such he's very forward thinking. And I remember earlier we were talking to Space. He was comparing John to the likes of Joe, and I kind of mentioned that John is more like a wrecking ball, whereas Joe is that player behind enemy lines, right? He's someone that is able to more so outthink and outsmart and outpace you, whereas John, it doesn't really matter. He's just going to go straight through you.
I feel like what's tough about somebody who's like kind of career and their playstyle is based around being a flanker, being somebody going behind enemy lines, is it has its pros and cons. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, because not only is that team that you're going against always going to be kind of expecting you to be behind them all the time and expecting you to kind of be somewhere weird on the map doing something else but not really with your team. It's also a double-edged sword, and because the enemy has to turn around and look for that and has to expect that, it allows, if you have 3 explosive players right by your side, to kind of get in their face and punish them for that bit of turnaround.
And speaking to some of the players in this lobby, there's some serious brand recognition that needs to be brought up. Of course, we have Whalers. He's seen some time on Vitality. I mean, this guy has just been a dominant force in the French scene for Call of Duty esports. And the opposite side, of course, we talked a lot about Joe, and I'm sure he's going to give us a lot more to talk about throughout the rest of the series. He's a star-studded player that we've seen perform well on rosters such as Splice and Red Reserve. I mean, he's just such a storied player, and it's really exciting to have names like these in the Challenger series. It just goes to show how stiff the competition is in Call of Duty esports globally right now. Everyone's playing for their cut of the massive amounts of prize money that are going out. I know we mentioned just yesterday, since January, Rams, the top team in Europe, they've made over $30,000 this year, right? They still got like 10 months of Call of Duty to go. The math on that is certainly off, but it's the best I got right now. Let's try closer to 9, right? So it's just an exciting time right now to be a professional Call of Duty player, and even more exciting to be a professional Call of Duty fan.
Absolutely. And as we are hopefully getting to some Call of Duty soon, I want to ask you, Fox, I'm going to pull a bit of a spaceman here as we kind of jump back into our series that we're currently watching and the SD that we're about to get into on Raid. I want to know who you're looking at, who you expect to win in map count. I'll go first, not really to put you on the spot. I do expect Trainhard to win this. I expect it to be a 6-4 win, so a closer game, kind of like our hard point. And I think the kind of do or die player on that team is going to end up being Keza. That's my hot take. That's my prediction. Now I want to know yours.
I think Connect 4's got it. It's hard for me to count out Joe. I mean, we just saw what they were able to do in Hardpoint despite being outslayed and outplayed on numerous different occasions. I think these guys are going to show great resilience and see this long match to the end. I, like you, think that this Search and Destroy is going to be a competitive one that goes close to like round 9, 10, potentially 11, and it's going to be an exciting one. If you're just tuning in, of course, we are waiting for Trainhard and Connect 4 to get ready to hop into this Raid Search and Destroy. We're coming off the conclusion of a chaotic brawl on Garrison Hardpoint where most of Connect 4 went negative, Joe specifically double negative, and they were able to perform so well in the end and close out the map. We saw some score streaks come in very timely, turning the tide of the game. And we're looking to get into this Search and Destroy. Of course, we've mentioned the presence of the Krig, of course, with the XM4 being kind of exiled from the community at the moment, not seeing any kind of play. We talked about the potential for the QBZ, and with the game starting, we can go ahead and hop right into the match for you now. Again, Raid Search and Destroy.
And I talked about how in the first Hardpoint Connect Four, they played together so well that they didn't need to outslay. But I'm thinking going into this S&D, it's going to be a much different story because S&D is obviously mostly life plays. So I don't think it's going to end up working out, and that's why I do make the prediction of Train Hard kind of taking this pretty easily. But as we hop on board, we are with Henry currently as Bomb is slowly making its way towards the B site. Nothing cut out just yet. Joe did get the information, but Detain is able to stay up and alive. But we should see a rotation coming out of Connect 4 here soon, as I'm sure Joe has called out that they are making the way to take over this bomb site.
Pillar control is oh so important, and you saw it was given up to Connect 4 just like that. They actually elect to go through Kitchen towards Laundry. Should they decide to get into this position quickly, they would be able to hold it down for any sort of a reroute from the bomb carrier on the opposite side of the map. But it looks like what's unfolding is an offensive play towards A, which was left wide open. It seems that Dave has been the player that has elected to go and defend it. He should be met with death just around the corner if he's not careful. Bomb starts to go down. Dave is actually going to catch him before he can do it. So Henry, being the first blood, Whalers is not going to be able to follow that one up with how far away he is. With the bomb down on site, of course, Dave's going to be calling that out to the rest of his team. And we see the rest of the engagements going down right now, as well as the bomb on the A site. Gunfights in Kitchen do go in favor of Connect 4 as 3 players fall, and it's just Whalers on his own. Lenny sniffs him out, shuts him down, and that's a round win for Connect 4 to start this search and destroy.
Beautiful decision making out of Train Hard to bait that rotation from Connect 4 over to B site and then kind of retake the bomb over at A once they were all there. But such poor execution. I guess nobody was really watching over the bomb site at that angle to keep Dave from getting that pick. And here comes Lenny once again with a nice double piece onto these two, kicking Whalers right out of the water. I guess Whalers didn't learn how to swim, but huge up 1-0 on the side of Connect 4. I feel like they really needed that going into this S&D. Like I said, I didn't expect them to perform too well in.
Quick start there. Certainly a heads-up play by Connect 4 to send one player back over to A for defense. You have to imagine that if they get that bomb plant down without Dave finding the first blood, that the conclusion of that round is drastically different. Bomb carrier Lenny elects to go through Zig. Running pretty carefully here. No pre-fire just yet. They're waiting for someone on the side of Train Hard to expose themselves, and Joe just barely gets out with his life. The aggression moving from Kitchen towards Pillars rather than Pool. But now mid is on lockdown as Train Hard also have pillar control. And pillar control, of course, as we mentioned, is something that can secure that B-bomb site just well.
Joe, huge there for getting that information. I think this is the second round in a row where he's really gotten like the first couple of shots from Train Hard and kind of calling out to his teammates what's going on and where. And now we see him picking first blood as well up in mid. Now Bomb's probably going to go down onto the B site. But little do they know, 2 Train Hard players are waiting for them to try and do that lay. And shots are going out, but nobody gets picked off just yet. Huge play for Connect 4 to get that bomb down, just back on up and play the ankle. But Joe and Lenny just get a little too aggressive in Kitchen, and they both end up falling. So now it's a 2v2. Bomb is planted, 30 seconds on the clock. Keza's getting called out, but he's trying to stay alive. He does know that Nolson's right up on those staircases, and he's waiting for that push. No cavalry yet, though. Whaler's just kind of standing at the B side, maybe looking to start defusing that bomb, but he gets picked out by Dave. So now Keza's stuck in the middle in a 1v2. But Connect 4, they know where he is. He has 12 seconds to hop on this bomb and try to get this kill onto Dave, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it. Oh, but he does get the kill onto Dave. Excuse me. But unfortunately, not able to defuse that bomb in time.
Quick shout out to the play by Nolson right there. Some people might have gotten greedy and pushed up on that kill on Keza on middle map, but Nolson knew that Keza was probably in a pretty good situation to kind of evade him and trick him right there. So Nolson just plays that time, waits it out on poolside, wastes his time, and you see it unfold right there. Keza finds the kill, but still didn't have enough time to defuse anyway. So great coordination from Nolson and Dave to play their lives right there, play their numbers, of course. The numbers advantage is huge, and Keza ultimately unsuccessful in his efforts of clutching that round. 2-0 as Connect 4 find themselves winning the first offensive and defensive rounds of the game. And now we're looking at Train Hard for their offensive attempt as they push up aggressively through Zig for the first blood. Whalers with the support of Joe, they're able to find one before Whalers falls.
Huge aggression coming out of Train Hard to push all the way to the other defensive side and get those picks. So now they're stuck in a 2v2. Joe and Dave kind of cut out over at A currently, but Bomb doesn't know it. Henry doesn't know that he has free time to lay this bomb down currently. So the clock's just ticking. Connect 4 making a full rotation on the other side of the map. Train Hard have no idea. I don't know why they have not put bomb down yet. There is 48 seconds on the clock. There's still no movement from either player on the side of Train Hard, and it gave Connect 4 a complete time to make this full rotation, and finally bomb starts going down, but Joe or Dave might be able to make this pick. One of them slides up. Joe's going to his right. He might get this pick off of Henry. Henry doesn't know he's there. He gets taken down, so it's just Detain left in a 1v2. He knows where they are. He has the angle on the bomb. Joe and Dave have to take him out if they have any hope of getting this bomb defused.
Oh, catches him. We saw he was so patiently just trying to bait out the player top Laundry. And we see Joe go for the defuse to secure Connect 4's third round in a row. I want to talk a little bit about that plant. I think that the hesitation there was that they were both set at Laundry. They didn't know where the remaining Connect 4 players were. For all they knew, they were sitting mid and had control of pillars. And you can kind of even see where the bomb planter's mind was at. As he planted it, he actually stayed right there, was looking at pillars and art and waiting for the pressure to come from that direction. However, he did not expect them to wrap all the way through garage to driveway, all the way around circle and fire on him right in his side. And in the end, Connect 4 is able to do so and close out the round. Joe, the player I said to watch the Search and Destroy, is currently at the top of the lobby, 5-2.
Absolutely. And you look on the side of Train Hard, and Henry, unfortunately, sitting at 0-3. So hopefully seeing a little bit more out of him. But when you're down 0-3, this is not what I expected out of Train Hard. They have such good decision making, but it's just getting executed so poorly. But we're on board with Dave currently on the side of Connect 4, who's sitting at 2-1, trying to kind of bit some information onto pillars, see if there's anybody hanging out in mid. He might see Henry's head. I think he did, and he almost got shaved off, but he manages to stay alive. Joe trying to make some noise behind enemy lines, as we usually see him do. He's going to catch Willers and get that information. He's just going to back up, though, and let his teammates know that bomb can probably get laid here in a second.
You see the pillars control. We see the guy top circle is able to look through pillars to mid and stop them from disrupting this plant, giving Lenny the go-ahead to drop it on B. However, the gunfight does go to Detain inside Art, which could be big for their presence on trying to defuse this bomb. But he catches someone behind him. It's Nolson who is setting up for the pinch. He ends up getting shut down. Detain, sniffing him out like a bloodhound at this moment. He's making things a whole lot easier in terms of getting onto this B bomb site, but that clock is ticking. 23 seconds remain. We got two players on site on opposite ends of it. One at fire. He's taken down. Keza finds the kill first. One more on site. Lenny playing so sneaky inside the grass here. Let's see if they spot him. Last one's on bomb defusing. He's got to stop it just before the defuse is secured. Connect 4 is able to close out the round, and they find themselves 4 up at 4 straight.
What a sneaky play out of Lenny. That kind of patience he had. You could see him making the decision, do I shoot at him or not? And then he made the decision to pop up and get those shots off and then kill him off with Bond. Great 1v2 out of him. I mean, if you train hard in that situation, honestly, there's just nothing you could do. Nobody would have predicted Lenny sitting in that garden. And now they have to think about that spot. Now that Lenny has laid there and punished them for not checking, now you're probably going to see train hard kind of checking their backs in that little corner every time.
That's definitely something that only works once, but you love to see it when it happens. The bait with the player on fire side was flawlessly executed, and we see Connect 4 making big brain plays so far in this Search and Destroy. Henry killless so far, but getting his second plant down for this game. He's able to do so and get away with his life. Tiki control on deck. He's got bedroom support. He's got He's got stair support near the pool. Detain's going to catch one in the window. Great spot for him to be in. Very awkward position to be in as well. I don't think they expected that one. 2 down for Connect 4. It's going to be a 3 versus 2 with Detain and Whalers finding kills for the side of Train Hard. Last one behind. Bedroom is going to be taken out as Train Hard find their first round win of Raid Search and Destroy.
I always talk about once you go down in S&D, it just means you need a pace change. Something needs to kind of get flipped up. And that's exactly what Train Hard did. They switched the pace. They played aggressive. They quickly took over the A site and punished the kind of slow play out of Connect 4. And so then they're able to get on the board. But they have to continue to do this for another 5 rounds. So we'll see if Train Hard will be able to kind of pull themselves back into this S&D.
I like where Detain's head is at. I like how sneaky this man is. I like how awkward the angles are that he's holding when he's making great predictions as to where the enemy team's going to come from. I think it ultimately comes down to just having that high search and destroy IQ, high intuition as to where the enemy is going to be, I should say. Keza is going to be able to hop into circle with the support of Henry over his shoulder, so that's going to be a really tough fight for Dave to fight from the driveway. Knowing this, he's going to back up, and with the support of his team, they decide to call an audible and rotate over towards the A site. They will be met by Detain, who set up near Zeus Tree. They're not going to be able to connect with a whole lot at this distance, but the communication that his team has been awarded is priceless. Players 1 and 4, Keza and Henry, you have to imagine that they'll start to make this rotation here soon as Detain finds first blood.
Huge pick out of Detain to get him off that bomb site, because now bomb is out right next to A, and there's just no way you're going to be able to pick it up without meeting that gunfire once again. There it is. Like I said, Whalers takes out Dave trying to go for the bomb. It's now a 3v1. Nolson left out on his own, and bomb is still down. 30 seconds on the clock. He finally gets taken down, and Trainhard now up with 2 rounds on the board, 4-2. And like I said, Trainhard is just starting to play so much more aggressive and get so much more in the face of Connect 4, and that's just something that I don't think they will.
Yeah, and Trainhard, they're clearly not going out without a fight. The AR players, Detain and Whalers specifically, Detain is not running the AR this map. He was running the AK-74U. You see him switch between the two now. With the 74U in hand, he's been able to find some pretty sneaky spots, as well as the Krieg. He's on a 4 streak right now. He's going to be the first player to break 10 kills, and you kind of see the brakes being pumped on the side of Connect 4 because of Trainhard's response, their resurgence in this search and destroy. 2 straight rounds and 2 bomb plants coming from Henry are certainly contributing to that.
Huge pick out of Whalers, getting Olsen out of Tiki. Now Bomb is trying to go down, but Lenny takes the same spot as Whalers did last time, so he's able to get that pick, and we're kind of in the same situation, but Flip Bomb is down on the site, but Whaler, unfortunately, he didn't stay to try to get the second, so Bomb has been picked up. It looks like a little bit of rotation going on the side of B, but 2 players from Connect 4 are also there that are going to answer them, so it's all about timing here now, as they're going to catch out Dave. He doesn't go down, and Joe gets some shots into him, but the teamwork in the trades end up going through. Kezek finds both as they focus onto Whalers, so now a 2v1. Bomb should go down pretty quickly here as number 7, Lenny, is trying to come up a back, but I feel like this is a mistake I've seen Trainhard make again, where they just sit and wait to the last second to lay that bomb down. 23 seconds on the clock. Bomb is now making its way towards A. I love this decision making coming out of Trainhard, as they know Lenny's on the other side. This gives a free plant with no worries as the time is he's going to make to rotate through mid.
I think Lenny was hoping that they didn't spot him, but to his detriment, they see him, fire some shots off, and then just instantly make the play call to go to the A site. Definitely wise of them, and it's just going to make things so much more difficult for Lenny as he now has to enter their territory. Keza has Tiki control. There's still a player top bedroom to deal with. He's able to connect with those shots. He can't get the double kill, and we see the numbers advantage playing out beautifully right there as Trainhard find 3 straight.
My heart definitely stopped for a millisecond there when I saw him trying to burn on Whalers. I'm like, all right, but the trade should go through, but then he snaps onto the player in Tiki, and again, should he have not been weak, that might have been a different type of gunfight, but great job out of Trainhard. They have now gone up 3 rounds in a row. Henry is only 1 in 5. He finally found his first kill, but he does look to be our most main bomb carrier on the side of Trainhard, so props to him for going out into the fray. But Detain, 9 and 5, Keza 7 and 3. I talked about them being kind of the S&D stars on this team, and they're definitely showing up here in the later rounds.
Keza with 4 straight. We saw his contributions felt very early on in that round with the double kill on Circle. 2 players on the opposite side of Laundry. Wow, Joe's just going right in here without using any of his utility. This is going to be a tough gunfight to win, and he still comes out on top as he takes down Whalers. Keza with the trade, and Joe's entry of in that 1v2 engagement still awards his team with the bomb plant.
Connect 4 definitely with the information that they needed to start playing faster and answering to the aggressive Trainhard, but I don't know if they can keep up as another one goes down for Connect 4. 26 seconds on the clock. Bomb still needs to go down. Detain finds 1. Finally, Dave picks him off, but 1v1. Bomb needs to get defused. Not down. Dave is on the hunt currently. Keza's on the hunt for Dave. He finds him, but he's just running the clock. He's forcing the chase, and he's working. Keza's going for the chase, and he's going for the gunfight. So Connect 4 are able to take that round. It looks scary for a minute. So unfortunate for Keza as Bomb was down. He did have to try and chase Dave all the way to Lambo Garage. Bomb does not end up getting defused.
Masterful positioning from Dave right there. You see the beautiful movement system in Call of Duty at play as he's able to just kind of jiggle and tuck himself in these corners and waste the time of the player that's pursuing him with that bomb down and find the kill in the end. Dave Certainly keeping up with the youngins here. We got Detain at 11-6. Most kills in the lobby. We saw him go on a pretty big streak as well as Keza. But they find themselves up against Connect 4 at map point. I'm seeing some aggression through mid here. They have to hear Joe moving around. Detain waiting for it. He jiggle peeks because he knows someone's usually watching Zig right there. He's not giving it up to him for free. The play call is towards the A site as the rest of the action is unfolding on poolside.
Trainhard unfortunately not showing the aggression that they did in the earlier rounds, as they almost got up to the A side and then kind of slowed it down and pulled it back. So it's kind of an unfortunate situation for them, as the strat call just isn't pulling through quite yet. Hoping to see maybe a bit of rotation on a bomb here, but all of Connect 4 is making their way to the back basketball court to try and get this pick off of A site. A little bit of some slow engagements. No first blood just yet, but again, I mean, this is looking very scary. Bomb tried to go down onto A, it looked like, but they're just not able to push their way up. They have to shut down Joe first as he gets tagged up, but very slow now. Bomb finally making its rotation, but I mean, there's 28 seconds. Connect 4 has to know once they don't see any players from Train Hard onto that A side anymore that the bomb is making its way over to B, but they have to answer to Nolson, who has information that Henry's there, but he doesn't finish the kill, so he's going to answer the Keza's gunfire, and Bomb should go down pretty free.
I like the play call out of Train Hard. They had Detain on the back securing the flank. Nothing came, but they also saw they made no progress in the A site. So the audible over to the B site is met with a double kill and a plant. Great effort out of Train Hard so far, and they find a win with it. I think the stellar play calling right there deserves an award.
Oh my god, I don't know. I think we're going to watch it now. Detain turns and burns on Joe here to protect the bomb getting planted. What a beautiful play by him, and we're going to watch him get the final kill as well onto Lenny as he was just ripping through his teammates. Good shots out of him. Train Hard able to go up again, but they need to be able to win 2 more rounds in a row if they don't want to lose this S&D.
Detain battling right now. More kills than everyone on his team combined at 14. Wow. Certainly keeping his squad in the game right now. Of course, the damage and contribution in team shots is something to talk about. Got players going down long range with the AK-74U, but you see the Krig players coming out on top with the kills in the end. Trade for one on both sides in that encounter. 3 versus 2, that was Connect 4. Find the man advantage from it all.
They are hunting for Detain right now. All 3 members of Connect 4 are just running at this man. He finds one. Can he find another? Does he know they're all just hunting for him? He will finally get taken down, but at least now Keza knows where they are. And he might get timing here. Joe's going to pick him off. That's going to be a Connect 4 win on the S&D. What aggression in that final round coming out of Connect 4.
I respect it. They saw Detain. They didn't want to lose him. You definitely don't want to lose the guy with 15 kills because he's bound to get some more. For quite a bit of that map, he was far and ahead, pulling away from his teammates. Of course, we saw Keza with 8 kills, but just that early hot start, that 4-0 start from the side of Connect 4, they just had to get that edge out those last 2 and find the win.
The fact that Connect 4 was able to go up so early, I really think is what helped them win this S&D, because again, they are a team that eventually, as it goes on, they start to fall behind a little bit, as again, we saw Train Hard start taking back those little bits of rounds every once in a while. They went up 2, they went up 3, but I mean, great stuff on Connect 4. They saw Train Hard, and I want to watch it again real quick. They saw Train Hard kind of, going back and kind of grabbing that pace and kind of playing that aggression and getting in their faces. And Connect 4 realized that, and they start capitalizing on that by the last couple of rounds just starting to run at them. I mean, we saw Joe just pushing up in mid and getting that first blood and getting those first couple of kills, and we're going to watch it here again. He started playing aggressive, and I feel like that really just shut Train Hard in their momentum that they started to get down.
Yeah, you could really see Connect 4 using Joe like a weapon, using Joe like bait, using Joe to buy time. And on the opposite side, of course, you saw stellar positioning out of some of the players on Train Hard to put themselves in spots to find these crazy multi-kills. Of course, with that backup support, right? That team shot is so crucial when you're trying to find trades and search and destroy. And it was so good that there were moments where they just didn't need it because Keza and Detain were finding multi-kills. We, of course, see Whalers doing some of that alongside him here on Circle. Joe, once again, just being so annoying on Laundry. This is where he pushed up 1v2, didn't even bother using his Semtex or his stun. He just knew the bomb plant was going down and went straight for Laundry so that he could buy his team some time to continue the objective.
And what's huge for Connect 4 is across the board in that S&D, they were all pretty even. You know, nobody was falling behind. Everybody was getting the kills that they needed to get. And on the side of Trainhard, of course, we had Detain. I mean, he had the exact same amount of kills as the rest of his team combined. And as incredible that is for him, and as incredible of a stat line that is for him, it's not good for their S&Ds. It's not good for them winning. Henry, I believe, was like 1 in 8, falling behind a little bit. So now looking at the maps, and we're going to this Garrison control, and I think, you know, I still favor Trainhard. They are, again, like I said, they are 2-0 on Garrison, and every time they have one Garrison control, they have one in a 3-0 fashion. So I have to favor them just stat-wise going into this, but Connect 4 look good, and if they can somehow take this momentum and shut Trainhard down going into this, they could take the series 3-0.
Yeah, I'm certainly seeing some potential for Connect 4 to close out this series. The statistic you mentioned earlier about Garrison control does jump out at me as a very alarming stat that can determine the outcome of this next map here. But with the way that Connect 4 is playing, I think that they're coordinating with each other very well. I think that Joe and Dave have been playing alongside each other for so long, for so many years, that kind of cooperation is hard to match. It's hard to find in other player relationships. So coming right back to Garrison, we saw this on map 1. It was a lot of back and forth in the hardpoint, many lead changes up until the 200-point mark where we saw Connect 4 pull away. They were able to win this map despite being outslayed very heavily, some players going double negative, and there were still some moments with score streaks that we saw, very timely moments with score streaks. So in this control here, I'm curious to see how it resolves.
Yeah, I'm running on the back of being up 2-4 on the side of Connect 4. I definitely think they could do something in here going into this Garrison control. We're still looking at Joe. We're still looking at Dave. And even though, you know, the stats say what they say, Connect 4 is a bit on the roll as we are loading into this map, I believe, as we're getting a little bit of a warm up on this black screen currently. And we're going to come back and we're going to talk one more time about Trainhard and kind of their win conditions going into this. You know, when you're down 0-2 to a team like Connect 4 with the IQ of Joe, with the slaying of Dave, with the slaying of Lenny, and Olsen kind of being on fire, Fox. I mean, what do you think Trainhard kind of need to do? They need to just kind of forget about the first 2 maps. They need to kind of change their mindset going into this Garrison control and just reset completely?
I don't even want to say, I don't want to imply that they were underperforming in the first 2 maps. I think that there were some there were some moments we just simply got outplayed by the side of Connect 4. It was just great coordination from them. I think that what we need to see out of them is a faster response to this play style, right? We saw the big lead that they gave up in the search and destroy. We saw those moments in hardpoint where they were just getting wiped, wave of engagements after wave of engagements, and it certainly increased the deficit in that score and some very unopportune moments. So of course, we're just waiting for the players to regroup, get settled, and get ready to load right back in for the control on Garrison. And Ali, could you tell us a little bit more about what your expectations are on this map for the side of Trainhard?
I'm expecting a lot of aggression out of Trainhard, and the thing for me is, you know, if Connect 4 is going to kind of answer with the same aggression, because if I've seen anything after watching Connect 4, and I know I was a bit Trainhard heavy going into this, is I'm interested to see if Connect 4 will come out completely aggressive as they had to do in the S&D. They had to start coming out aggressive to shut down Trainhard. So I wonder if that's going to be kind of their opening strat going to this control. I mean, knowing or not knowing kind of how good this team is on this specific map and mode.
All right, moving from the estate of Raid back into Garrison control. Stimmy hit yesterday. I might have to pick up that laundry room there over on Raid, maybe the art room too. Some very fine art there on the walls. Garrison control.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at the Stimmy hit, and you're gonna go. You know what? I would go for the Lambo first. I feel like you should walk up on the raid map and be like, you know what? Give me the Lambo. You know, put that in the back pocket, then put the art in the back. But personally, I'd like the tank in the middle of this Garrison as we hop on with Joe. He might think of the same, as he's gonna head his way over to green and possibly over to the mid of the map. Though nothing too serious, no huge trades going out yet. Dave though has a hot stat line starting at 3-2, but Keza shuts him down very quickly to kind of answer to that. Already a pretty aggressive game. There's almost 10 lives lost on the side of Trainhard, and no tick gone through on the side on either side either. So already a pretty back and forth game, Fox.
Back and forth off the start as we're seeing some progression being made on the site. Not quite to the completion of that first tick. We also have players sat on the A point. That's going to be Detained. He was a force in the last search and destroy. We saw him having more kills than his entire team combined at some points. We see him start off hot here in this control. First tier has been accomplished, has been achieved by Trainhard as they're making their way towards the second. No one's supposed to really make a difference. We got some players on bricks that look like they've opted to just beeline straight forward and stop this, but Kez in a good spot to respond to it. He actually gets shot beat down. Quick response coming out of Connect 4 to end it right there before they can complete the third tier. Of course, that will stay at the second. And now it's up to Trainhard for their next respawn as to how they're going to reclaim their map positioning. They're fighting this next wave of engagements 3 versus 4 as Henry's still not in the mix just yet. 2 players fall, and now it's just going to be Detain and Henry facing off against the remaining Connect 4 players. But Whalers did slip the net. He was able to get through to the A site. He will be met with several players coming up through arches, though. Let's see how he plays it out.
Huge push off Detain, getting behind enemy line, kind of evening out the score line. And Whalers, again, he's also getting 2 pieces on our little kill feed here. But Keza, he's all the way behind enemy line. Not Keza. Number 7, Lenny was all behind enemy lines trying to get those kills off of Trainhard, but he wasn't able to do so. Sure, he made them turn around for a second, but 2 members on Trainhard were able to capture that point. So now that B is gone, 1 tick is already on A, and there's a minute to work with. We're going to see a big push out of Trainhard here as they're going to try and make their way into bricks and probably flood into the back of Connect 4 spawn, force that spawn trap, while also gaining more ticks onto the A site.
And so you see Trainhard being rewarded by Whalers' play to go over to the A site while progression is being made on B. Since they already had the first 2 tiers accomplished, he was just going over there to force Connect 4 to split up their resources. And him getting a 1v2 is just kind of icing on top of that cake, right? So now that they've made the first tier progress, all efforts are focused towards this site as 30 seconds remain in this round of control.
I'm hoping to see Trainhard push out here a little bit to get more control on this A side. Sure, they were starting to make progress, but they did push it far enough, so allowed Connect 4 to just kind of steamroll their way right through the front once again. In 20 seconds, there's 1 push maybe by Trainhard if they work this fast enough. They have 16 seconds to not only wipe all of Connect 4 that are set up in this point, but also get that tick going. So they're going to make their way through bricks. They have 9 seconds to slide in. The only people close enough are number 4, number 3. It's going to be Detain and Henry. Whalers falls. Henry needs to slide in. He's the last hope for Trainhard, but he gets shut down by Joe. And first round Trainhard has ever lost on a Garrison control has happened in their first round against Connect 4.
Connect 4 was able to do it. You saw the hot start. You saw the swift play call and excellent execution from Trainhard as they captured point B and began progression to point A. But Connect 4, they were able to rally efforts and defend the last point to keep this round in their pocket, delivering Trainhard their first round loss on this map this season so far. So we'll have to see how the rest of the game unfolds. Of course, there's still plenty of control to be played, but Connect 4, they look to have some great 3-0 potential at this point.
Hop on with JP, sitting nice at 10 and 6. He's going to get shot up a little bit here, but won't fall as they're looking for a nice heavy A push here. Nobody on the side of Trainhard is over at A, so we could see a tick come through. Number 4, Henry, he's going to try to get through green, but that's the whole point. Dave is at tank. He's going to watch green from back. He's going to get the kill on Detain as well, and that is huge. That is A basically chalked and gone, not to mention A is the hardest point on Garrison control to cap. Trainhard were not prepared for this. Not only did they commit so many players to try and take that A site back, but now it's gone. Number 4, Henry is still there. Joe's pushed up in your spawn, and B is nowhere to be contested by Trainhard. So Connect 4 are going to slide into this. This might be an incredibly fast defensive round, Fox.
Yeah, it's looking like it. Closest one to point B is Whalers. He's got an AR and can't quite push in alone. He's still got threats to worry about around bricks. Now that they've cleared them out, they can move over to B. But the first tier has already been accomplished. They're inching closer to the second, bumming up on the third, and now we're seeing Trainhard's response come in. Coming in through lights is 2 different submachine gun players as Henry's able to come out on top and defend the point a little bit. But look at the utility, keeping him back. He's trying to contest it all he can as he's waiting for his team to come up off spawn and support him. When we take a look at the life differential, just five lives separating the two, but 2 full minutes left in this control to be played because of how quickly Connect 4 was able to obtain the A point.
2 full ticks already on B. The final might come in through. Joe gets 2. He gets the third one. That's 3 down for Trainhard. None of them are going to be closer for this tick. Connect 4 is about to go up 2-0. Trainhard, you cannot let them push through the front like that. No one from the members of Trainhard had any mid control, and it just allowed Connect 4 to keep that pressure up close in front. We're going to watch Joe's 3-piece one more time to kind of secure them that win. Oh my God, somebody get this man out of here. He just not be able to do that, especially when there's 3 players of Trainhard trying to get that trade out through. great stuff out of Joe.
No games played from the side of Connect 4 as Joe finishes the round with a sick triple kill to be spotted in our round-ending kill cam. Dave sitting at 15 kills. On the opposite side, we have two Train Hard players that have surpassed 10. That's Whalers and Henry. But we're seeing Connect 4. They hop on these sites as a big just kind of death ball, all of them pushing towards the same spot, and they're successful in their efforts as they go up 2-0 against Train Hard. As you said, one of the strongest teams on this map mode combination statistically. Henry and Keza find the first 2 kills of this round, and progression begins on the B point. No one from Connect 4 is in range to stop it, but there's already 2 on middle map that could make the difference. We see the pinch as all players are starting to converge on the B site. It's still unfolding in favor of Train Hard, though, as Connect 4 have yet to put a kill on the board. Detain, Whalers, Henry lighting it all up, and Connect 4 spawn out with both sides under attack.
Finally, some life out of Train Hard in this control as 2 ticks get capped on B and possibly 1 at A as Whalers is just holding this down all by himself. He is soon joined by Keza. Now there's 2 members from Train Hard on both sides as Henry is starting to make his way towards B as well. Whalers just shutting down the cavalry coming from Connect 4. He's got to tick in. Almost the second one. B's almost gone. What a response of Train Hard, but finally Connect 4 able to push their way in, but Whalers is not going down on a 5 streak. He's got his teammates on his back. A is almost chalked up and gone. It is all up to Nolson at this point. He needs to get in here. The third tick is about to go out. He's about to get picked off on stairs. Whalers almost goes down, but they need to get in. Somebody from Train Hard needs to slide in, and they don't. So Train Hard finally now on the board with 1 round in a very convincing fashion.
And look, you're seeing it right here again. Whalers is in his happy place. This is exactly where he wants to be with the Krieg. He showed it the first round. He showed it again here. He's got score streaks coming into the next one as they get the first point on the board in this garrison control. So it's only going to get tougher here for Connect 4 to close it out, as it seems that Train Hard has woken up. We kind of saw this in the Search and Destroy as well. The slow start to then Train Hard kind of picking up the pace versus Connect 4 coming out of the gates hot. I want to stick on board with Whalers here and see what he does with this streaks, with these streaks, and with his streak, because it looks like he's going to be the first to approach 20 kills.
Connect 4 have to play this perfect. They can't go for that A site again because all of Train Hard have pushed up mid and kind of created this front line so that no members are able to kind of slip past and do a bit of a split push. Detain, though, trying to get behind enemy lines and unable to. He will get taken down. First tick probably going to go on to B side here as Dave finds 2 in the middle. And it looks like Train Hard's almost about to just chalk B completely. They're just going to go play for the defensive on A as they are not sending anyone towards mid-map whatsoever.
I wonder what the play call is here to give up B so easily. We saw how poorly it worked out for them the first time around. I mean, of course, this time they still do have Whalers playing for score streaks, but maybe is it to their detriment for them to only send maybe 2 or 3 players at a time to the B point? It wasn't successful for them for the first time. Seeing Whalers die off of his streak and 3 players jump right on top of the point. Tier 1 progress already being made. Of course, Whalers achieving that first score streak is going to be able to take them off of it. Big double kill to stop the progression right there. Nolson's on a 5 streak regardless with the Krieg, and 1 more pouring in from Arches with the submachine gun is enough to end his spree. But that was a good offensive effort from Connect 4, only to be shut down by score streaks.
You needed to invest those score streaks there because that was such a beautiful push into the back by Connect 4. Should they not have had those, I don't see Train Hard breaking into that A point anytime soon. So Dave now is going to ping his, and he's going to call his score streaks in. That's going to force Train Hard off, and Connect 4, they need to capitalize on this. The second that first drop goes out, they need to push their way in. Unfortunately, a little slow on the execution, so now streaks are burned. Henry finds 1, but there's only 1 member left to Connect 4 in green, so now streaks are burned from both sides. There's a minute 20 on the clock, only 1 tick at A, and A, again, like we've talked about, is one of the hardest points to break into.
That it is, and you see as they get cleared out right there, Dave being the last player to fall, him alongside Whalers being the first players to break 20 in the lobby so far. We're looking to see how Connect 4 decides to mount their efforts to get back to the A point, as the control has clearly been shifted back to the side of Train Hard. 1 player might have slipped the net, that's Henry. Even as 2 kills go in favor of Connect 4, they have to deal with him soon. Detain finds a kill, he's taken out. This is huge for them as they're able to hop right back onto the point. With the first tick progress already being made, they clear straight through the second as all of Train Hard come up off spawn and are making their way to the third. They know all the pressure's coming in from Arches, but no one's looking at it. Keza comes through with lots of damage with the 74U. The support of Henry to back him up as well. And we see Tick Progress is cleared, and they're right back down to Tier 2. 35 seconds remain on the clock here. If Connect 4 is able to get on this point and finish off that third tier, they close out the series 3-0. But Train Hard, one of the strongest teams on this map, they are holding on strong, Allie.
It was a beautiful break out of Connect 4, and then the answer by Train Hard was just incredible as well. But, I mean, Connect 4 can just keep doing this play and picking off their lives. I mean, there's only 5 lives on the side of Train Hard. Sure, there's 14 seconds, but here comes the cavalry from Connect 4, and they're starting to get shut down. It's only Joe left on his own. He has to get this kill in the brick. He gets it finally, but he has 5 seconds. He needs to get into the point number 7. That's going to be Lenny. Lenny's going to try and get him from the front, but he can't. Joe has to go on his own and win a 1v1, unable to do it. Train Hard go up and tie the series 2-2. I expected nothing less from a team with such good stats on this map, but Connect 4, I mean, they just kept getting into the back of bricks. They just kept shooting, just kept shooting Train Hard from spawn, and we're going to watch it again. Nolson, he plays his life in the back, and he hops up, and he's able to take down a couple of members from Train Hard, and they've done it again and again. I believe that was the 3rd time they have done that strat, so Train Hard, they need to start expecting that, and they need to start turning around and answering to the Connect 4 flanks.
And we see just how competent of a team Train Hard is when they're playing on Satellite. Their defensive plays there are just stellar. Whalers is perfectly comfortable there. Detain, even though he's 11 and 19, certainly shows or lets his presence be known on that side of the map. High objective score, high objective contributions from most of the players on the side of Train Hard. I'm looking forward to see how it unfolds in our closing round here, the tiebreaker. This decides it. It is match point. If Connect 4 can win this one, they close out the series 3-0. But Train Hard, they're showing that they are not going out without a fight.
As soon as you say that, 3 from Train Hard go down, and it looks like they're about to get stuck in the spawn trap here a little bit as Lenny is pushed up into bricks and just ready for anybody who decides to walk past him. And there goes Detain. He's going to push on back, play his life, and Train Hard have so much work here if they want to get any progress on either side of the map. There's no ticks at A, there's no ticks at B. They are down lives. Lenny is just having his way in the middle of the map. Train Hard need to wake up, and they need to wake up soon. They only have 30 seconds to get control of the point.
30 seconds, several Connect 4 players alive on middle map will be the ones to stop them from getting onto the point. Keza was hoping to touch down on it, but he was stopped just that quickly. And now player 6 on your minimap, Joe, is going to get up close and personal in their face. Detain is able to respond, but of course that information that he's able to give to the rest of the team, Connect 4 should be able to capitalize on it. Dave slipped the net and is still behind them. Let's see how it works out for them.
I've seen crazier times on the clock where teams are able to pull through and get those ticks onto either site. So 10.1 seconds on the clock. It has stopped because of the progress onto B. Connect 4 does look to end the game here, though, as they start collapsing onto the site. Down goes Henry. And a couple trades come through. That's 2 down for either side. Lenny beats down Detain. And now the clock is running once again. Whalers is the only one close enough. He needs to hop in. He gets taken down. And Connect 4 are going to go up and win the series 3-0, Fox. I thought it would be a bit of a clean series, but definitely the complete opposite way as Connect 4 ends up taking.
Yeah, it was a 3-0, but I don't think that it was a clean 3-0 at all. I mean, there was definitely a great fight put up from the side of Train Hard. We saw stellar performance from the likes of Detain in that search and destroy. Of course, in the control, as you just saw, we need to keep in mind how great the defense was on the side of Train Hard at some points, right? Other than the opening moments of the game, Whalers showed his prowess as an AR player sitting on satellites. Keza showed just how aggressive he can be with the submachine gun to get into the mix, do some damage, and contribute to that team shot. And it was an exciting one. Space, you were watching from the side. What stood out to you?
I mean, the fact that they clutched a 4v14, that I just tweeted about that stood out to me. I was watching it, I was listening to Allie, and she's like, you know, they have numbers. They have 14 people up, and Joe needs to win the gunfight. I'm like, yeah, they do have numbers. They do have 14 people up, and somehow they still lose. And that was just an impressive defensive stand from Train Hard. I was incredibly blown away with the resolve. Right, you have numbers down. There's no reason you should win that round regardless. And here is how the entire series played out. You just saw it. We just watched it. And it was an impressive defensive stand. But unfortunately, that kind of next level play, that kind of extra boost doesn't really help when you're still unable to close out the map. Yes, it does go the distance, but they get 3-0 swept. And I was really impressed with how Detain was playing in that S&D. And I was impressed with what Train Hard were able to do. But it seemed like regardless of what the situation was, even with Lenny not having the best control, even with moments where Joe was just really, really slow in the hard points, I mean, Dave just had a tremendous series, and that's what we expect from him. And it seems like regardless of the structure that they're in, Fox, like Connect Four, can pull themselves out of any situation, and sometimes it just takes one player on that roster to pop off.
For sure, and it's interesting to see Trainhard playing now without the likes of Hydra on the roster. You have to wonder what that would have looked like in the Search and Destroy there, as the Tane was the one who took over for the squad. Connect Four, though, in the end, very well-coordinated unit. They had a very well-coordinated team. I mean, Dave and Joe were just absolute units throughout the series. Definitely have to give a shout out to their performance. Some shining moments from Nolson. I really liked the performance in the play in Raid, where he was able to bait his teammate on fire and just drop prone next to B, and just have that trigger discipline to wait and find the kill that matters the most.
And at this point, I think for an Alley, and just kind of looking at the Trainhard, their performance, let alone the roster and the new additions, right? I think Detain's an excellent addition to this team. You saw what he was bringing to the table in S&D, consistently finding two pieces and utilizing his life effectively, even towards top bedroom on Raid. I was very, very impressed. But for them, just go back to the drawing board, continue to work and practice, and I have no doubt that this team will be able to figure it out. But with that said, we have some time on our hands, which means we're going to be jumping into Game 4 of 67K versus Team Moon, and I believe 67K is actually up in the series, so that's going to be an interesting story to talk about just a little, because we saw Team Moon yesterday. Again, that's PD, Genesis, Brezzy, and Aroma, excuse me. And yeah, we're going to be jumping into Game 4 of that, so the hard points coming up. Guys, this is an interesting matchup, because again, we're seeing 67K for the first time next series, but we'll be seeing them now. And this is a team of Saiyan, Beans, Nile, and Nuke. Nile, of course, we knew was formerly on that 3G roster, arguably the best player on that roster. They make a couple of changes, and he surrounds himself with a young team. And you know, let's take a look at the maps of the series, because we actually have a recap of what's happened. I have to say that this Beans kid is so impressive, and I love his name, and I'm just going to keep saying it. But Team Moon took map 1, 67K respawned with 2 maps of their own, and now we go to Moscow Hardpoint. And you know, Fox, whenever a team decides to make a roster change, whenever you kind of blow up the situation, you say, okay, everybody go your separate ways, and we'll see you down the line. Putting Nile around a team of young players with Nuke, Beans, and Saiyan, maybe it's all that Nile specifically needed to really get a chance to prove that he can lead a team towards the top of the rankings in Europe. But I look at Team Moon, and again, we saw them yesterday, and a lot of the discussion was about PD and where he was going to end up in the European challenger scene. But I felt that, at least from the short match we did watch of them, PD was certainly just, you know, consistent as always, but I was very impressed with Genesis kind of bouncing back, because in the start of season 1, he did not have the best hardpoint KD. He did not have the best S&D KD. He was struggling. His best game was control. So seeing the roster changes in Europe has certainly been fun, but what are you looking at for young players coming into the scene this time, especially on a young roster like 67K? What do you expect out of them, knowing how big and all-encompassing Challengers has become in the last couple of years?
You know, it's got to show that players like Nile and others on 67K have confidence in Saiyan, in regards to the fact that he's coming from what was the original Elite 2 roster. They actually ended up losing him in early February to 67K after they failed to qualify in Stage 1. They placed top 32. So they have to have some sort of impression that Saiyan is going to bring what they need for this team to push them to that next level. They found themselves up 2-1 in this series. I'm curious to see how it concludes.
And Ali, you know, it's not that these are any real heavy hitters in Europe. And again, that is no disrespect whatsoever to the players, because these players are some of the best in Europe, right? You're only in this challenger circuit if you are the best in your respective region. But do you think that having kind of this atmosphere around you of not a lot of film, not a lot of VODs to be watched, but a lot to prove, do you think that having that lack of popularity and that lack of eyeballs can really help a team and make them a dark horse in a tournament?
No, for sure. It's definitely kind of like an underdog syndrome of wanting to like be the team that doesn't have that much popularity, and then when they go and play against these kind of like higher, more popular players, as we've talked about, it's kind of like a surge of energy. It's a surge of kind of adrenaline of like, all right, this is a team that probably has such an ego. You know, they think they're gonna 3-0 us. They think they're gonna smash us super easy. You know, we're a middle of the pack team, and it's kind of that excitement of kind of shutting that down and shutting those rumors down and kind of proving themselves. So I definitely think it's more of a positive than it is a negative.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we watched Team Moon yesterday versus Elite 2, again, one of the things that stood out was it seemed like Team Moon struggled to, again, be able to keep up in the slang department. And I still contribute a lot of that to, yes, they're a young roster, and yes, they still have a lot they need to work on in terms of understanding the team rotations. And I believe we saw Checkmate a couple of times in that series. And Genesis has improved his hardpoint KD. It was in 0.85 last season. He had a 0.66 in S&D, which is just not good enough. But that just came down to running into a better roster on Elite 2. But for Team Moon, sometimes it is just about reps. And I would say the same thing about 67K, because, I mean, outside of Nile, you really have, and, you know, even saying just Fox kind of retreading back on his current standing, you have Beans and Nuke. You know, Beans is a relatively new player, and sometimes a player like, you know, Beans, or someone even as big as Nvidian, who no one was keeping on the radar, they can show up and just get on a good roster and start smoking. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Nuke and Beans can contribute to this roster, but more importantly, I'm looking forward to the game 4. Fox, Ali, enjoy the call, and let's hope that Beans pops off.
Just looking at the maps, thanks Spaceman for the throw, as we obviously did not see the beginning maps, but that hardpoint stat line kind of sticks out to me as we were loading into Moscow hardpoint as well. It was a garrison. It was a little bit of a sweep, it looked like, from the side of Team Moon, but I look at Breezy and I have a weird note for him that he's very good at garrison hardpoint for some reason. So I don't know if we're going to expect him to take over, as I assume he did on that map, but I am looking at Genesis, who has definitely stepped it up as a huge threat.
All right, let's see if your prediction reigns true here. 67K facing off against Team Moon. In the opening moments of this hardpoint, we do see Team Moon find the first 2 kills and the initial time. No response just yet from the side of 67K, as Beans is going to be the first one to put a kill on the board for them.
Team Moon already getting the first couple of seconds off of this hill, which is usually very contested and back and forth. And as soon as I say that, Nile cleans up to finally get some numbers on the board. But you talk about rotation. Nuke is already making his way up street, but he's by himself, so he will get taken down by PD pretty easily. And this is not an ideal situation for 67K, as not only are they now down a couple of points, but they have no real control going into this next rotation.
Saiyan falls, trying to step outside and get some presence on Metro. You can see it's currently locked down by Brezzy, who sat just outside. He also finds Beans. The street seems to be closed. One more should be on the way. That's Saiyan just behind him, catches him off guard. And so now we see all players from 67K mounting efforts towards the new hill. Team Moon ready and waiting, pre-aiming. As you can see, still getting gunned, as Nuke is going to slip through untouched with the AK-74U. Still hill control in favor of Team Moon. They're keeping the pressure on to try and push them back. That spawn's still so favorable for Team Moon. And that's why they're able to keep up and keep the war of attrition going. And they're able to hop right back onto it and extend their lead further.
It was scary for a moment, but I saw Genesis push his way back from mid-map to kind of sit closer with his team on this hill and kind of regain them control, as all of 67K kind of started flooding in through mid. And now we talk about rotation, though. As the last couple of seconds go into Team Moon, 67K is already there. They're already complete setup. The closest person is number 5. That's going to be Breezy on your mini-map, as he's going to try and push up street, but I don't think they see Beans here. But Terrence rips him, Breezy rips him off of Bus. So now that is bottom map control completely on the side of Team Moon, and they can take this a bit slow. You know, they have that nice little 20-second lead. If they can just work on this break, and they could, you know, easily just kind of make their lead even further should they get spawns in the back.
So Brez is alone right here. He finds the kill and backs up, decides to re-engage. And off of that, his teammates end up spawning on the northern side of the map, so we'll have to see how they're able to flood into the hill, as most of 67K spawned up closer towards middle map. They get right back to the hill oh so quickly, and it's enough to push out the opposition of Team Moon that was coming so close to the objective there. And in moments here, we should see our first lead change of this hardpoint. Genesis tagging one player up before backing up with a bloody red screen. He's waiting for a bit more support before he goes back onto the objective, as well as the fact that there's only 10 seconds remaining. The most important action to take right now is to prioritize that rotation to Bus. And you see all 4 arrows from Team Moon are there, except for PD, who ends up spawning way out towards back Metro. So we'll have to see how he elects to go through middle map to set up for maybe a pinch or joining his team on the hardpoint.
Great aggression out of 67K to get that scrap time for that lead change, but unfortunately they only invested about 1 or 2 players for that rotation, and Team Moon, I mean, they were all there and set up ready to go. So we're going to see this time go back on the side of Team Moon as they are set up on street here. 67K though getting some picks and finally able to take down 2 members from Team Moon. Beans in this bus is this absolutely a terrifying thing to have to deal with as he's now shooting down street as all of Team Moon responding on the other side of the map.
Seeing a 4 streak from Beans with the Krig. Great spot for him to be in to support the hill. At range, though, is going to get the better of him. That's a big kill right there. 3 straight, actually, as they clear out the street. 10 seconds remain on this hard point. Team Moon going to take the scrap time to extend their lead a little bit as we rotate right back to the top of the list. P1 on middle map. Terrence is already there for the initial dip of his foot into the hill. We got players 3 and 4, Nuke, J, and Saiyan looking to go towards Eskies. They will be met by Genesis, ready and waiting for it. Big double kill to stop that, relieving some of the initial pressure onto this hard point as Team Moon get the first bit of hill time.
A little too much pressure from 67K on that scrap time as there was maybe 10 seconds left, and there was a member of Team Moon that was able to take down both of them, but probably some pressure going up on Statue and mid, but all this time, I mean, nobody's near the point right now. 67 is investing a lot to try and flip out these spawns as Beans and Nile make their way up the street, but they're going to have to answer to Terrence, and again, Team Moon is getting all of this time. They are just absolutely running with this lead currently and shutting down all the opposition, and all that's left from 67's push for spawns is Beans. He's by himself. He's not going to be able to take out these 2-3 members of Team Moon that are coming up from behind him unless his team gets there in time. Excuse me, Breezy shuts him down. And now almost 60 seconds have gone on the side of Team Moon because of the commitment and investment from 67K.
That commitment and investment awarding them with a great lead. PD with over a minute of hill time. Terrence, of course, approaching that number as well. And they're going to get the initial hill time on this next hill, too. And, I mean, this is just a very worrying trend in the hard point right now. If you're 67K, you got Nuke J, who's double negative, Saiyan, who's approaching the same. It's really only Beans contributing in the kill column, surpassing 10 kills. But you need a full team effort, and right now they're just getting wiped over and over again. 67K do find themselves at match point, but they're getting buried in this hard point, Ali.
I actually, like I said, I do not like, oh, PD almost got 3, excuse me, I had to pause myself for a second as that was insane snap on from him, but 67, it all started when they just invested way too much to try and flip out spawns for P2, just to not get them, not to mention barely any of this time as they might get scrapped here, but now they're later on the rotation that they usually were so good at. They were usually so good at getting at this P3 backline, and number 3, that's Nuke, he's going to go down as he tried to fight for spawns by himself, and now this is a money hill going in for Team Moon, who already have a 70-point lead.
Initial time once again going to Team Moon, and as you said, this money hill could be very troublesome for the side of 67K as they've shown unable or unwilling to be able to break these hills at the initial time. Terrence, 10 and 12, tied for the most hill time on his team alongside PD. You see they're all contributing to the objective and just playing. When they're in a defensive position, they're playing so easily about to break that 200 point as 67K have yet to set foot in this money hill. I mean, what do you see happening? What's clicking and working so well for Team Moon that 67K have not caught on to yet?
Like I said, Team Moon, they're definitely playing incredibly well now. Once they've kind of gotten to the role that they would need to get into, they just kept pushing and kept pushing and kept pushing. 67K, though, they just keep making little mistakes. Like committing to this 17 seconds right now, that is the last thing Nile needs to be doing, especially getting taken down. Sure, number 4, Saiyan, I remember he's pushed up on street, ready for that rotation. But again, Team Moon is just shutting them down over and over and over again. We need to see some solid decision-making out of 67K if they want to get back in this game. I mean, there's 20 seconds left for Team Moon to take it.
Team Moon got that entire hill. And as we rotate to this next point, we see 67K is in the initial setup position, but Team Moon is still close, just around the corner with that Metro spawn. We saw how well they were able to fight from this side previously. We'll have to see how it unfolds this time. 2 kills opened up because of Nuke J's double kill, so that's great for them in terms of numbers. But they still need to stay on the objective as they're trailing behind by so much and running out of time and running out of situations where they can make mistakes because it's only 20 seconds that separate 67K from closing this game out. So now that they're back on the hard point, they're still getting hit from dead on and one player that's slipped in that just behind them. It's Genesis who finds a kill. Still no answer to him just yet, and he collects 2 more for him. Trying to find the 4th, but Beans won't let him do it. That's really been the story from him all map long, with 22 kills to his name, the most in the lobby. Team Moon so close to victory that they can taste it. They're forcing this game 5.
Team Moon does not even have to worry about that scrap time either, as they are set up onto this P1 that they've gotten so much time on before, and Saiyans inside, he's trying to contest, but the cavalry is on side of Team Moon. I don't think anybody's going to be close enough to slide in, except for maybe Beans and Nuke, but they have to be able to just run in, and that's going to be it. That's the hard point going the side of Team Moon, as what started to be such a close game, just one giant mistake on the side of 67K ended up costing them the rest of the match.
Yeah, and what we saw a lot throughout that map ended up being what would give Team Moon the victory, and that is them finding that initial time, winning the rotation, holding the sights down, holding the points down defensively, pretty flawlessly from start to finish. We saw that big money hill that they got in the later stages of the game that seemed to be the final nail in the coffin. Beans, in terms of the kill column at least, for the opposite side for 67K was the only one that's contributing from start to finish, running that AR. That Krieg certainly had its presence felt, especially on the street side of the map, but the contribution just wasn't there from the rest of the team. They were sitting at below 10 kills for so much of that game and just dying at the beginning of every attempt to push into the hill. So we can go ahead and take another look at that game, but what you're going to see is a lot of the perspective of Team Moon just putting 67K on their backs.
Well, like I said, I called it out mid-game. 67K, the deciding moment for them in that hard point was the second they decided to completely ignore P1 and try to go for P2 spawns. That is such a gamble, especially when you're giving away that much time to such a close game. It's one thing to give your enemy team, a 20-point lead, just, to secure those spots to the next one, but it's another thing to give them a 60-point lead and still not be able to secure spawns going into P2. So if anything, you didn't even gain anything from making that much of commitment, and that just hurt them for the rest of the game on, because then it allowed Team Moon to not only get the first couple of time off of P2, it allowed Team Moon to then do an early rotation and give up scrap time and go to that next money hill on the other side of the map and set up for another full 60, and it just really wrote it off for 67K to lose that hard point.
Yeah, things were swinging dangerously out of control for Team 67K there, as Moon seemed well composed and in control from start to finish. We saw those initial rotations and getting that first bit of time, playing perfectly for them each and every encounter from start to finish. So good on them to force the game 5. We did not get to see the conclusion of the search and destroy, but I'm curious to see what you think and what you think of the players in this lobby when it comes to who's going to stand out in that game mode, Ali.
Just because of Team Moon, I saw that stat on their earlier S&D. I believe it was a 6-4, and going off the momentum of that hard point, they weren't able to take it from also winning their first hard point. But Team Moon, 250 to 120, 250 to 170, they're looking disgusting at hard point, but because they did lose that control and they did lose that S&D, they do have to pull through here onto this raid S&D, and even though 6-4 stat line for that S&D, I don't know if Team Moon are going to be able to pull it off, because if they can't take the momentum from that hard point into the S&D, I'm for sure think that 67K could punish them for it.
Fans of the Call of Duty Challenger Series, you might be familiar with Team Moon, at least the players on it. We have half of 3G in Genesis and Aroma. We had Petey, who ran the Call of Duty Challenger Series under the name of War in the Modern Warfare series. So this is someone that is no stranger to online competition and no stranger to competition in the European region for the Challenger Series. So expect to see him put up a fight alongside his roster here as they find themselves in Game 5, back on Raid, the biggest state. I am looking forward to see how things unfold.
Win condition certainly on the side of Team Moon for this S&D is going to have to be breezy, and Genesis kind of firing on all cylinders especially, and the fact that Team Moon plays best when they're playing together, and the second that they kind of start getting caught out position or spread apart is when they start to fall in S&D. And then talking about win conditions on the side of 67K, as long as Niles and Beans continue to kind of put on a clinic, I expect them to kind of go up, especially in round count on this S&D. I am favoring Team Moon going into this. I'm wondering your predictions, Fox, after we've talked about it a little bit and see their stat lines currently as they are going into a Game 5 and what it kind of does to these teams, going into these longer series.
I think that we could see 67K put up a fight in this Raid Search and Destroy, but I think that I have more faith in the resilience of Team Moon to last long enough to maybe end this in round 7, round 8 of that raid. I think that they're going to close this game out and find themselves with a Game 5 victory.
And I like that opinion for sure. And, you know, we talk about that hard point once more. And I was wondering if anything stood out to you. I know I talked about how I feel like it was really just that one turning point where everything kind of flipped into the favor of Team Moon. But did you see any maybe other mistakes on the sides of Team 67K or anything good on the side of Team Moon that kind of ended up getting them that win?
So for 67K in that hard point, what stood out to me was their failure to rotate and their failure to get the initial time on the hard points. I'm not sure how much of that is due to strategy so much as just getting outgunned, right? A lot of those kills that we saw, like the first wave of kills, it was 1 kill, then 2 kills, backed up by no trades coming from the side of 67K. It was always Team Moon opening up with unanswered kills and then just finishing the job there because they had the numbers advantage. So in Search and Destroy, with things being a little bit slower, I think it's going to be a bit different and harder to predict, but I still think that we see Team Moon close it out in the end.
All right, well, we're about to get all of our questions answered as we hop into this game. Raid, Search, and Destroy, and we're going to be on with saying right off the bat, they are going to be on the offensive on the side of 67K as Bomb seems to make immediately its way over to the B site.
As we're working our way over to the B site, you see Saiyan and company just out front of Art. All 4 players committing towards the B site. The middle control has been given up to the side of Team Moon, so they're going to elect to use that and go for a flank. Saiyan is watching it, so Brezi's going to have to be careful as to how he plays this. Art is still on lock. You got 1 player watching the driveway, but he's still able to catch one. He's going unanswered so far as he comes down to the driveway. Niall's there to answer to it, of course. Still no progression to this site from the bomb carrier. He doesn't feel safe just yet. Just waiting to see what his teammate does. Beans with the AR sat pretty in the garden. And it looks like Terrence is going to run away. Genesis is just around the corner. Beans peeked it, finds him, and gets the better of him. Bomb could go down pretty easily now as Terrence is way off on the other side of the map. Let's see what they elect to do.
Very good decision making on the side of Beans, just kind of play his life there and got some notes from Lenny just to wait for that information and then just turns and burns on the player in the corner. And Bomb still needs to go down though. There's 20 seconds. They need to move a little bit quicker about this as they are going to go for that A plan. And Terrence, he's kind of stuck out in the mid here. He might get this timing if he pushes it quick enough. He might be able to do it. Beans is laying Bomb currently. Niall's into the pool though, and he doesn't able to win the gunfight as he did not pre-aim into the Tiki. So 67K up 1-0 in the S&D currently, and a bit of a clunky fashion, but able to close it out.
Certainly that first round. First round is going to go to 67K. Niall finding 3 of the 4 kills they needed to secure that win. Of course, we saw the play call of not planting the bomb on B, rotating over towards A, finding that kill. And now it's going to be Team Moon's opportunity to play their first offensive round. All 4 players commit straight to B, and Beans opens up right out of the gates with the opening kill using the Krieg. Semtex is coming in, but the trophy systems are there to support them. Tac masks keeping Brezi in the action on circle, but Beans is going to find him anyway. That's 2 kills for that player. 67K with the watch, the warden of Beans overlooking them. They're all able to contribute in team shooting and maintaining that control of Laundry. Look at this positioning.
Very unfortunate full counter for Team Moon as all of 67K was there ready and waiting for this push. We watched Breezy get a bit of a haircut on the side of Beans. I believe he found 2 or 3 during that round, so huge for them to go up into 2-0 now. And that aggressiveness out of Team Moon is kind of getting shut down with the aggro from 67K. So I'm wondering if we're going to see a bit of a pace change here. So Beans is now up 3-0. Niall still sitting at 3-1 now. Team Moon, they got to change something and change something fast. They don't want to let 67K run away with this.
Beans definitely so far carrying over his performance of this map. He's got the first blood. Well, Team Moon actually gets the first blood, but Beans and Nuke are there to respond. The kind of opening engagements you're used to seeing on middle map. Terrence being the last alive on the opposite side. This is very troublesome. Of course, he was just that lurker that was supposed to be watching any kind of shenanigans on the A site, but all the action unfolded on B before he could dive into it. And with Beans at 5-0, he's going to be the best support that Nuke could ask for this map. They're sat on Laundry as Terrence is still searching for him. He has no idea where they're at, and they're sitting so patiently and quietly. But they don't check the corners.
This is going to be perfect. He hopped out. He held his trigger finger. Stay there, Terrence. Stay. He has the information. There's one. Oh, didn't unfortunately work out in his favor. He almost was able to do it though. The patience of holding his trigger was the right move, but they definitely didn't do what he expected them to do. He expected them both to kind of hop out and go for that bomb plant, but one of the members of 67K just went right back, and he's like, okay, well, what do I do now? And very unfortunate situation for the side of Team Moon, but these rounds are going so quickly now that 67K has kind of gotten to their groove, and I'm expecting Team Moon to kind of maybe do a play change here, maybe go for the other site, and push their way up poolside onto A, but again, might be a bit predictable as we hop right into it.
Fortunate for 67K is Beans connecting with every single shot ahead of him. You saw right there, he found 2 of those 3 kills, but got massive amounts of damage with the Krieg on all 3 of those players, leaving Terrence on his lonesome to try and clutch it. Terrence this round is going to find the first blood on Nile on pool stairs. As the bomb inches closer towards the A site, it will be met with opposition. Saiyan sat just around the corner. He catches him while he's planting. 1 just above him. He's able to get 2. Genesis finally dumps cold water on that fire, but it might have already spread. Nuke J just around the corner on the basketball court. He still has a 1v2 to work through. It's going to be tough, but I don't think they know where he's at right now.
I called the A push from Team Moon for that pace change, but what I didn't call was Saiyan just laying there and turning and burning on 2 members of Team Moon with detrimental kills on the side of him, but thankfully they finally shut him down. Nuke still looking to shoot Terrence in the foot, and he's able to, and Genesis is nowhere near the bomb, so now bomb is not getting laid. There's 30 seconds on the clock. He knows bomb's down, but he's hopping through the window as Genesis makes a turn from basketball. If anything's COD timing, it is that moment on side of Nuke, but Team Moon finally on the board during this SMG.
Yeah, he almost gets away. You see Saiyan's got to be so upset because of how big that defensive stop was from him. You on the A site, you had to imagine that his team should have been able to capitalize on it and finish out the round, but Team Moon playing with that numbers advantage, they're able to secure the win with Genesis on a 2 streak. But we're looking at the offensive team. We're seeing Nile grab the bomb off the start. Looks like so far resources are split up between both sites. No one really electing to hold down middle map. It's going to be the bomb carrier on his own at Zig. Not electing to peek towards Kitchen. Of course, he would be met with the fierce response from the ARs of Team Moon if he did. Shots down range from Beans. Not quite connecting enough for a kill. Now playing so patiently, he thinks that there's someone just around this corner, and he does connect with someone. You see the hit marker popping up. Tac Mask keeping them both protected from the tacticals. And I think that with that information, they want to try and inch their way closer to the B site with Saiyan coming over to fill the gap on Zig. But Brezzy gets out of there. With Pillars control, he's able to find a kill on B site. We mentioned how important Pillars is on this map just as a line of sight. And you see it playing out perfectly right there, as now it's 67K in a 3 versus 4 situation on offense.
Big patience out of Team Moon, which is just absolutely game ending for them here, as now we're in a 2v2 as a couple gunfights go through. But 67K, what they were hoping to do is they're hoping to kind of just sit through mid and wait for the call out of, which site has the most pressure on it, and then make that rotation with the bomb. But Team Moon kept their patience, but now they're starting to fall apart. Beans gets taken down by Genesis, but bomb gets planted. Beams was mid, reload. 67K able to end up pulling it through. Team Moon, they were in a perfect situation to kind of take that round back. I mean, they played the patience. They didn't allow the rotation to get called out, and they kind of wasted that clock time. But we kind of see the fall apart here as we're on board with Nile, and looks like he's going to get this final kill onto Terrence and Tiki.
So far, so good. We're seeing just how important that middle portion of the map is on this game. We're seeing a lot of action on the A-bomb site in this raid search and destroy. 67K. And Team Moon find themselves in Game 5. Our first 5 rounds, most of which go to 67K. Team Moon, they're looking to claw their way back in, as they did come. They are coming off of that Game 4 victory. Bomb carrier Petey, again, as I mentioned, a crucial part of Team War that we saw take over Call of Duty Challengers in Modern Warfare. Again, we're seeing an offensive effort more towards the A site. Not a serious commitment to either one, but of course, they're trying to work their way through it and find that first blood to make their decision. Nuke is going to find one, put one in between the eyes of Brezzy for the first blood. Bomb carrier Petey gets tagged up and still gets away with his life. Tiki under control of Saiyan, and he's got to figure out how to deal with that one. Looks like he might elect to just go for the bomb plant, but with Saiyan finding the kill top bedroom, that's going to be troublesome. They have to deal with Saiyan before they can get this bomb down, because they have no top bedroom control. Petey looking to get aggressive and do just that, as there's still also one more in the basketball court.
Unfortunately, Team Moon played that incredibly slow that allowed them to go down in 67K to get that first blood. Now Petey, he's stuck in a 1v2. It's all up to him to clutch it. He picks off Niall, and he's going to go straight for the B plan. Absolute great decision-making coming out of Petey. Huge gunfight to win for there as well. Nuke is going to go ahead and make that rotation across map, but there's still a lot of work to be done for Team Moon to get back in this game. Petey, he's going to look into mid, maybe make that wrap going through their spawn, but Nuke is on the other side. I don't think he knows it. Petey's going to try and make the wrap and go through kitchen. If Nuke tries to lay it right now, Petey's going to definitely get the timing and pick him off. Nuke knows he's there, though. Great prediction out of him. Now 67K is up 5-1. Team Moon, they got to start playing more aggressive. They are sitting back way too long and letting 67K get way too much information, especially on these offensive rounds.
Great intuition there from Nuke, because of the fact that he was at Laundry while the bomb was being planted. He comes out of the site and sees that the bomb is planted for Laundry side, comes to circle and sees no offensive player around him. So he knows that player had to have wrapped all the way around so that he could go to Laundry and be able to watch the bomb. So he patiently waits, lines up the easy shot, takes it, and secures it to bring his team to map point, as well as match point. One more, and we see 67K take it in game 5.
Nuke and Niall putting on a bit of a clinic here. 7-4 and 6 and 3, and Genesis finally takes him down, but Saiyan ain't able to get that answer. So 3v3 now. Niall's our bomb carrier as he's trying to make his way towards the B site. All of B has been in control of 67K now. Team Moon, they are all spread out across the map. They might be able to get Beans caught up in the back, but I don't think they know that he's in this corner. So we're going to see those shots come out of Petey, and Beans just kind of jump out and say hello. A little bit of cavalry out, but trophies will go down.
Well, if I'm Niall, this is not where I want to be with that player sitting top art, who's probably got an AR just waiting for him to make a mistake and get greedy. 2 players on middle map as they work their way through pillars. We'll have to see what Niall's able to do as he was able to get out of that positioning. He still loses the gunfight to the AK-74U of Brezzy. Now it's all up to Saiyan. 1v2. Terrence is sticking the bomb for the defuse. He hops on it, stops him. Now there's not enough time, and it doesn't even matter because he finds a double kill to end the round. And 67K take it in Game 5 fashion, 6-1 scoreline.
You cannot let Saiyan just run up and shoot your bomb diffuser, not to mention take you out as well. Huge gunning out of him, but Team Moon, I mean, they weren't able to get a foothold in that S&D space, man. I know we didn't see every map in this series, but I can only imagine how the other ones went. What are your thoughts watching from the sidelines?
Don't matter if it's refried or baked. I'm a fan of Beans. I like this kid. This kid's dirty. I just want to say that Beans is going to be the best player in Europe by the end of the season. And I am just, listen, I'm liking, Allie, I don't want to hear it. I'm liking the 67K roster. I like what I saw in the S&D, the poise, the confidence, even in that last round before the round of 6-1. You had Nuke in the 1v1 situation, able to rotate appropriately. He takes the long route and then understands that if the bomb's playing on the defensive side, surely the player who planted must be on the opposite end. Like, just great recognition and awareness in that S&D. Saiyan had a great game, and Niall just looks like he's doing Niall things. We know what he does, but I'm telling you, man, Beans is he's quickly becoming one of my favorite players to watch.
Always the players
looking
with
at
the
the breakdown,
names.
Allie. Looking at the breakdown, is it so much of just players having those weird names that pop off? But looking at the S&D, what specifically, if there was one thing that you could highlight and kind of isolate for our players to look at, or for our viewers to look at, what was it that made this team so successful against Team Moon?
It was just their decision making. We're just always like, it was always all the team in on one thing. Like Team Moon, I saw a lot of hesitation. I saw a lot of slow plays out of them. And, they always kind of tried to play for, there's too many players on this site, we'll make the rotation. But, 67K, they just didn't budge. And on the names thing, if Beans reminds me of anybody, it reminds me of Kleenex in BO4. And that terrifies me to the bone, Spaceman. So, Beans, great things out of him. The shots were incredible. And he was in Garden, and I just got flashbacks of Linny from our previous series, and I feel like we're about to see them again as well, so we'll get a little bit more information about them going to our next series.
Yeah, we'll get to see 67K coming up again because after this, we're seeing them versus Orglis. Here's the schedule for the rest of the European part of today. It's 67K versus Orglis up next, and then followed by a little bit of a break, and then North America with UT Crew, Built by Gamers, and then Aerial Rise versus Wester to close out the day. That's going to be a very interesting matchup, but UT Crew and BBG as well, a couple of interesting storylines we can talk about there. 67K and Orglis will be our final European match. Fox, do you think that 67K, at least just from the small sample size we just watched, do they have enough to take down what was at one point arguably the number 2 team in Europe before current situations and standings now have them around 3rd, 4th place? This is a big matchup not only for 67K, but because they get their first win of the Challengers Elite Series in Stage 2, but this is a big matchup for Orglis because if they win this, I believe they move up to 2nd place, but at this moment, they're sitting at around 3rd. What are you seeing, and more importantly, do you think 67K could be? Do you think they're going to come out and win? That's the question. I can't think. Is that they're going to win?
So it's an interesting question because we've seen what Beans has been able to contribute despite how the team might be performing and how the match might be going. That's a huge thing for them to have in their arsenal. But we also have to keep in mind the fact that Orglis has been top 2 in the Call of Duty Challenger Series all February long. And with the dominance of Vortex, I expect that to continue. But that remains to be seen. We'll get to it shortly.
Yeah, even with Passion's hot start, you still look at Rams and you still look at Orglis as the heavy favorites. Even as the season goes on, you're expecting them to continue to be dominant. So we have to wait and see, and that's why we play the games, and that's why esports exists. So before we get to that point, it's 67K and Orglis coming up next, but we must take a commercial break, get everyone set up in the lobby, and when we come back, the final match of Europe to close out day 2. Welcome back, nerds. I'm just kidding. That's mean. Welcome back to Stage 2 and Day 2 of Stage 2 of the Challengers Elite Series for the 2021 Call of Duty season. And this is the final matchup of Day 2 for Europe. We have 67K and we have Orglis. You guys are up to bat. And as always, I'm Spaceman. That is Allie and Fox. And this is the final match of Europe, baby. We got a couple more after this. We got North America coming up later today. But for this final one, 67K and Orglis, let's take a look at the maps because we got all of that already predicted. And I'll tell you what, it's not that interesting. It's checkmate, Miami, checkmate, and then raid. It's kind of a similar format we've seen so far throughout both season 1 and season 2. But checkmate hardpoint, I love it because it's absolute chaos, and I love when things don't go according to plan. Fox, talk to me about the map layout in this. And again, we see raid at that number 5 slot at that last final S&D. Pretty standard, it seems so far, at least in the meta beginning in Cold War. But we have checkmate twice in a row for the first 3 maps. What are you expecting out of the subs on both teams?
Checkmate's an awkward one, right? We can get the submachine gun players to get really tricky and show off their maneuverability around that plane. We can also see the AR players. Of course, it's the submachine gun players world, but the AR players, when it comes to their positioning on the airplane wings and the crates on street side, there's just a lot to work with there. You can see players start to shut it down when they hop up on top there. And I think that that's especially going to play into the hands of Orglis, which has a roster of well-established players with well-established and defined roles.
Yeah, look at this Orglis team, and they've continued a lot of their domination in Europe, right? Like they won the Challengers Open event, and Vortex had an MVP type performance. And you even look back to season 1, and we have some of those season 1 stats to look at, because Vortex has been one of those subs that I have consistently run into and casted over, even as far back as Black Ops 4. Watching him compete during the open brackets, he was consistently smoking people left and right. And here are the stats: a dead even 1.0 in hardpoint, 1.7 or 0.07, excuse me, in S&D, and a little bit slow in the control, but he plays his life much more effectively, so that's why the KD looks a little bit less, but still surrounding himself with nothing but the best in Europe. Nasty, 1.18 in hardpoint, a 1.11 in S&D, and almost a 1.2 in control. Nasty and Vortex together are arguably the best duo in Europe at this moment. They are absolutely disgusting, and that is what helped them win the Challengers Open event just a week or so ago. And with Vortex having this MVP-like performance, and as we get into game 1, Fox, I miss you already, but it's going to be me and Allie taking you through the action. And now I do look at excuse me, it's me and Fox, but I look at the fact that, you know,
I miss you too, Space.
In Europe, right, Fox, we haven't seen a lot of teams bring out the QBZ so far. I think we've seen maybe one player, but they're sticking to the Krieg meta, and I do wonder whether we're going to see a change like that in this series, or if the subs are going to continue to dominate the way they have because of Vortex and Nasty's ability to kind of take over games at moments.
Yeah, I definitely think that's something to keep into account here in this matchup against 67K. I actually foresee Orglis taking this pretty handedly. I think that we're going to see one of the strongest teams in Europe do what they do, come through and deliver a punishing blow at some moments in this series. But 67K have shown that they have players like Beans, who's able to really show up for the team when they need it most. And look, right off the bat, 3 kills straight. That was an awesome multi-kill to secure some of the defensive positioning they had on the hard point. However, the pressure from Orglis did not relent. Vortex came right through and answered back with 2 kills of his own.
You know, one of the more interesting anecdotes of this team, and when we look at the Orglis roster, a lot of it does come on the weights of Nasty and Vortex, sure. But if we want to talk about some of the more interesting developments, I mean, Josh was coaching last season, so having a coach come down and being able to fill that IGL role, not only that, but he's playing incredibly effective Call of Duty, and he's filling that AR requirement so well with his roster. So at least speaking just kind of the veteran capabilities, and more importantly, the leadership that he brings on the field, having an IGL that, you know, was a successful coach and now can transition back into a playing role, that does a lot for a team's confidence and for a team's chemistry on the field. But you have to be able to actually execute said strategy, and for 67K, they've done such a great job of weathering the storm of the subs in the plane. They hit the rotation early, and they get the close spawns for P2. So we go to NASA, about half of the hill time left, and they have a solid lead, and they're racking up a decent chunk of time here, Fox.
Yeah, big lead right off the rip. We see Nasty diving into the mix to contest this point. He ends up falling shortly after finding his first kill on the objective, and you see Beans is going to be the one to deliver some of the damage for that. 2 kills straight, currently 7-3. You talked a little bit about on the opposite side, Orglis, how they have Josh, who was just able to take down Beans, being that kind of in-game leader for the team. I think that there's a lot to be said about the brilliant mind of Josh when it comes to the way that he thinks about Call of Duty. He's an awesome addition to any team in the European region in that regard. You saw a lot of it on Splice. You've really seen it throughout his entire career. The way that he talks about Call of Duty is just so unique.
Yeah, and again, we talk a lot about, how the comms might be lighting up or what those comms might sound like. And so many times I think it's overlooked how important having the right information and knowing what to say, what not to say can affect a team. And with Josh coming in here and sort of translating from being the coach now back to being a player, he understands communication better than most. So it's been an absolute massive pickup for this Orglis team. But again, it really comes down to how well can they congeal together and can they work through the kills? Because subsequently, Nasty's been able to pick up 8 so far, and he's currently working on Noob. But we only have 12 seconds left onto the plane, and we're going to hit that P4 rotation. And when we look at the mini-map, when we look at the bottom side towards the left, it is Nuke who's already set up, ready and waiting, and he's going to try to secure spawns for 67K. He does so. He wins the backline gunfight, and that will let everyone else follow through into the hill and hopefully pick up those kills for a solid chunk of time. But at this moment, the break is in from Orglis, but Sand comes in for the shutdown.
Yeah, you called it beautifully. Nuke right there was sat in the back waiting, and the crucial gunfight was to take down Vortex, who, as we said, one of the best players on this roster, certainly a force for the side of Orglis. So sending someone like him to try and secure the spawns is the right play, but Nuke saw it coming and shut it down before the play could develop. Orglis, regardless, are able to hop into the hard point, start to claw their way back into this game and close the gap. They're still in the point, but they will be met with fierce opposition coming from both sides as the pinch from plane comes into play. You see it unfolding right before your eyes. Beans is able to find a kill, the support of the rest of his team right on top of the objective, but still, Nasty's not going anywhere. His feet are planted. He knows exactly what his job is with this AK-74U.
And as the breaks have been relatively routine for Orglis, at least in this final hill, now you start thinking about how do we get mid-map control back, because you have committed basically a one funnel system into the last hardpoint. We rotate to P5, and this is where you need your ARs to help clear out those frontline subs, where your subs now can move in and pick up the following kills. It comes through control in the plane, and it comes through the win condition of those ARs, but unfortunately, they're all getting shut down, and that is just the confidence of 67K, their ability to lock down these kills in mid-map and keep pressure out of the hill, because at this moment, Sand has not been challenged. Vortex is going to work through the back of the plane. Sand still staying alive. Here comes another. Vortex somehow turning and burning on the third inside of Wood. Make that 3 in a row. He's on a 4 spree. He eventually gets cut down, but his job is done as the frontline sub, and Nasty sitting in the flex. He can now just sit inside for time and play his life.
So we talked a little bit about Nuke and the big stop that he had on this section of the map where the point is at currently. He's actually going to be the first player to break 20 kills in the lobby, running the Krieg there. So you have to imagine that his presence is certainly being felt on the side of Orglis. You have to wonder how they're going to adapt to be able to handle someone like that who's been able to shut down the submachine gun players and their presence in the hard point, especially once we're around P2. But back to P1 we go. As we're defending the hard point indoors. Harry takes point with the AR and finds a kill before being traded out. Kills so far in favor of Orglis, as they still have 2 players on the point. But as the gunfights continue to go down, those players on 67K on the opposite end of the plane have just been able to hold tight.
Yeah, P1 is so often highly contested. A lot of it is just scrap time, and a lot of it is just chipping away at any subsequent lead you might have on the opposite side. So if you don't win the war of attrition in the plane, it's not a massive deal. You do have to worry about vying for a spot at mid-map, because we go to P2. We go to NASA. And again, who's going to be back there first? It's Nile for 67K. Last time it was Nuke. Now it's Nile, and Nile's just going to try to lock down spawns. Bean's going to work through the back and make sure no one else is overextended and cleared out our base. And for now, they can set up pretty early and ready and waiting, and they're going to have the early time, and they'll get a solid chunk here, Fox. They will increase this lead by about another 10-15 seconds before you see the first team hit from Orglis.
Beans with 3 straight, his closest one to the action. He finds his 4th kill. The trade comes through. Vortex, fancy footwork and fast movement. He's able to dive through for it and do just that. But again, the ARs are just not letting up. We got another 5 streak from Beans out of all of that. And you have to wonder, like, what is the problem? What do you see that's going wrong here with the side of Orglis that players Nuke, Jay, and Beans are able to take over and be so dominant this map?
Well, I think not only is it the commitment early to rotate off of an initial hill and go for the rotational fight, but they weren't contested when they were rotating. You allow Nihil and Beans to rotate back with those ARs in hand, and no one comes in for the challenge. So you're basically just fighting the hill up front, and that is okay if your subs can do enough work to make the AR's job easier when they rotate into the lane. That hasn't happened though. 67K have rotated uncontested to each hill, and they've been able to sit up and lock down an initial scrap or part of time. So there's no gunfight to be had. There's no gunfight to win when you're constantly winning that first 15 or 20 or so seconds. Then you can work through mid-map. Then if you lose the break, you just say, okay, we'll reset at mid-map. We'll find the kills and move to the next hill. There needs to be more aggression and more seriousness from Orglis when it comes to going for the early break, and they need to have a little bit more urgency with their runs.
Yeah, and we're seeing the urgency from Vortex on an individual level, trying to make these explosive plays, but 67K are responding to them so quickly before things get out of hand. And look, take a look at the scoreboard. We're seeing Nuke about to be the first player to approach 30, as Vortex just broke 20 for the side of Orglis. Back in the middle of the map we go. It's just 20 seconds remain on this hard point, and 67K are still pulling further ahead. Orglis have yet to find a lead change this game.
And this lead isn't too detrimental, so if I'm Orglis, I'm going to kind of take numbers off of this P4, or P3, excuse me, and we're going to rotate to P4 together as a team, as a full 4-man. Because you're only down by about 30, but you need to start winning these first initial breaks and these first holds on the hard point. They haven't been able to do so. Here comes Vortex for 2, and unfortunately, Harry will drop, but Nuke is there for the cleanup. Vortex now on your screen, incredibly weak. Nades come in, won't connect, but I like this hold from Orglis. They said, you know what? We have enough to be able to move through the middle of the map, and we'll get the kills necessary. They do so. 26 and 21 for Vortex. Harry having a slow game, but on the other side, Nasty essentially just doing his job, and they're doing a good job of keeping the kills outside of the hard point, so you aren't contesting those entry subs, and they can soak up time.
They've been at their best on this hill both times in this map so far, and now we're seeing the first lead change of the game occur as they've gotten most of this hill time nearly uncontested. 2 players pouring in, Saiyan and Nuke. Nuke falls, Saiyan comes just afterwards, and it's going to be Beans all on his lonesome going up towards the hard point. But most of this goes to Orglis as they start to pull ahead here.
And now I'm just looking at how are you going to work through the middle of the map if you're 67K. 30 and 26 for Nuke. 25 and 20 for Beans, so the ARs are getting it done. And Niall's going to rotate through the back, AK-74U in hand. A couple of shots get thrown out to Wood, and Josh will escape with his life. And look at your minimap, how far spread Orglis currently are, but it's the overextension in the back and the flank. 67K have Nihil on a long rotation. He's going to spot Josh. Takes him down with the team help from Nuke, trying to stay alive. He'll do so, and the call gets called out, but regardless, it's still the kills that work out in their favor. And it's such a great flank, because now the spawns are there. They can continue just to hit it and hit it and hit it. And at 206 to 163, Orglis have maintained the lead, but 67K are doing a great job of trying to break into the hill.
Yeah, they certainly got control for the closing moments of this hard point here. I mean, there's one last attempt that we're about to see as we're looking through the eyes of Nasty. He's the closest one to it, and he does just that. He's able to take down Nuke, but the Semtex trade coming in off the communication, it's a full team wipe, as once again, 67K shut down what could have been an explosive play from Orglis.
And now we go back to P1 on the third set of rotations. And again, this is a scrappy hard point, so it just comes down to a lot of contested big sub-plays inside the cockpit. But how long will that really last? Because we're getting to that point where, you know, Orglis can win it on any single hill. 67K closing in on that potential margin. Nasty with a nice kill to move into the plane. Looking for 2 more on the opposite side. He's going to sit near the bomb site. Usually we're seeing SND. A couple of shots ring out. He can't find the 3rd kill, but he's staying alive and doing his job before finally the trophy system eventually takes him out. So you're just looking for contest time. You're looking just to get onto the point, pick up a couple of kills here and there, lock down spawns for P2. But at this moment, it looks like 67K might be in a position to come away with the upper hand on this hill.
That they are. The lead dwindling as we speak. Orglis able to reclaim that bit of scrap time here, but it's not going to be without response from 67K. And that response is swiftly ended as Vortex, Nasty, and Harry find 3 individual kills to shut them down. Just 30 seconds separate Orglis from winning this map. And they have the initial time on the new hard point. We know how hard this one is to break. You're going to have to send your submachine gun players straight through the middle. But they will be met with opposition. We got Nasty in position. He gets stopped early. Player number 2, Beans, might be able to slip behind enemy lines and be met by Vortex here shortly. We'll have to see how it all unfolds as the players on the point still holding down on the objective like a vice grip. 4 seconds separate them from victory. Crates is where they need to avert their attention towards. They do just that, and it's enough to end it. Orglis wins map number 1. Very scrappy back and forth hardpoint space.
Yeah, I think that was the first time that on P2 they had actually rotated early, and Orglis were able to capitalize on, Vortex sitting in the back, able to pick up maybe 1, possibly 2 kills, but the confidence to move out and understand to give up that last bit of time. They fought for it in top of the cockpit, and they make their first early rotation on P2, and it pays off for them, so they take map 1 pretty convincingly in the end in that final rotation, but it looked scary for a while, and that is just credit to what Beans and Nuke were able to do. I mean, they collectively dropped almost 60-70 kills, and for a while they were matching the slaying of Vortex and Nasty, but the story of that hardpoint was essentially rotations for both teams. The overextensions that came out of 67K, looking back towards Wood, overextending into P5. Consistently, Nile was that person. And then you even look at P2, what Beans was able to do in an earlier rotation in a similar fashion. And then they just take a page right out of the notebook, and Orglis say, we're going to pull off the exact same strat. They do it successfully, and they close out P2 in that fashion. So here are the replays from map 1. And Fox, it was relatively routine across the board. I mean, pretty easy to read for both offenses when it came to rotating early and picking up the subsequent kills on rotation that allowed them to set up for a good chunk of time on these early hills. But so many times it seemed like Orglis were just confused of how they wanted to move through the middle of the map, and once that next hill popped, they weren't that successful when it came to finding the kills on transition.
Yeah, for sure. They weren't that successful, but I think that we still saw some of the same from 67K. I think it was a very well-met hard point on both sides. It was a lot of back and forth, nothing too crazy and too flashy. We started to see 67K pull away by maybe about 30-40 seconds. Nothing too hard to manage as we saw Orglis were able to hunker down and pull it together. And like you said, they got some of those initial rotations, and that was what was big for them coming back into this game.
So now we look at a situation where up 1-0 is Orglis. 67K put up a really, really good fight in game 1. Now we go to Miami S&D, which can be a bit of a neutral map. I know we talk a lot about Raid being a neutral map because it is so heavy on the 3 lanes, and it really just comes down to, how well you position your ARs. But Miami is so massive, and there's so many nooks and crannies where you can operate, where this is an entirely different series now. If 67K can come out with that same aggression and come out and meet those gunfights head-to-head with those ARs, I mean, Nuke and Beans have been lighting up the scoreboard. They could tie this one up 1-1 easily, but for Orglis, that just comes down to whether or not Nasty and Vortex get shut down. I doubt that will be the situation, but with Josh being the IGL and calling the shots, I expect Vortex to be in precarious spots and get himself out of it by finding a kill or 2. We look at Miami S&D for game 2, and Fox, I want to get your prediction, at least so far in this series. Do you think we're going to see a tie series going into checkmate, or are we going to look at a 2-0 lead for Orglis?
Hey, I've gotten to see quite a bit of Beans this week. He's been a great force for the 67K roster and clearly fits like a glove with the rest of the team, Niall, Sand, and Nuke. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I think that we're going to see Orglis really hold it down. But if there's anywhere for an AR player to flex their guns on a search and destroy, it's going to be in Miami.
Miami, it seems to be one of those S&D maps where the more we play it, it really becomes a map of what not to do rather than where to be and where to sit, because we know the ARs are going to be on the beachfront. We know they're going to sit in visitors. We know that people are going to be watched across through mid-map. So knowing where your subs shouldn't be in the back alley, knowing where they shouldn't be at bottom piano, it comes down to what mistake you don't make so many times. And let's get into game number 2. Again, this is S&D on Miami, and this is a current 1-0 lead for Orglis in the series. For just joining us, the final match of the day for Europe. Coming up after this one, it's a break, and then North America starts at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. But still, we sit in the European side of the region, and more importantly, we sit with one of the best teams in Europe in Orglis, and one of the more interesting upcoming teams in 67K. We have been impressed with Beans. We've been impressed with what Niall's been able to do, and Nuke has been popping off, especially in that first hard point. I wonder if the ARs will meet that same caliber going into this S&D. But Fox, I feel like it's going to be a relatively close one.
I think you're certainly right about that one. I still see Orglis coming out on top, but I'm sure we should expect to see 67K put out a fight. We're down to South Beach. It's all about piano control, but as it stands, the bomb will be moving towards the beach part of the map, towards the A-bomb site. They'll be met by 2 different players, Vortex and Josh, as they start to progress that way. Both teams sort of just looking for that first blood, playing carefully, using their lethals and tacticals to try and get a bit of information, but so far, neither team giving up too much to the other. Player number 3 is Saiyan as he's starting to work his way through the back of the building here. Garage is such a contentious point of the map overlooking that B bomb site. We'll have to see how he works it.
A lot of it just comes down to who's going to be able to grab first blood. Well, there you go. Harry does grab it. Niall, shot punch doesn't land. Vortex escapes. And again, Vortex in a weird spot, but comes away with a gunfight. And yes, he does drop, but numbers advantage to Orglis. Only one will fall. 3v1. Nuke in a very bad situation. Let's see what he can make out of it. But bomb down. You know where he's going to be. Would not be surprised if they start to collapse numbers. Last thing you want to do is take this gunfight one at a time. He can't plant. It's not going to work out. Orglis take round 1. But Vortex just picking up that kill and leaving the bomb down and backing up kind of breaks down the entire round for 67K.
That it does, and then once the first blood happens, we kind of see everything crumble from there. The players are able to rotate, they get the call-outs, the communication, and work with it from there. Nuke, only player on 67K to find a kill in the first round, 2 at that. On the opposite side for Orglis, most players contributing. We see the bomb carrier for Orglis' first attempt at offense is going to be nasty. They're working their way towards the B site, sending one player to lurk off on their own. That's Harry towards the A site. But everyone else prioritizing piano control. They hear that trophy system down just around the corner. They know they're going to be met with some opposition. AK-74U gunfights begin, and the first blood goes to 67K. But still, and within the man advantage as well, as Nuke J finds 4 kills so far.
Vortex again, so dirty. So many times in S&D he'll be able to pop off with a 2-piece, and it makes things that much more hectic on the other side. 67K still in a 1v1. Nuke and Vortex. And I believe Nuke has the weapon to work with at range. Vortex has to be careful when crossing through mid. I don't know if Nuke spotted him, but he certainly has a tingle that Vortex might be making the extension. And Vortex is going to move to A. Will he get the bomb down? I think Nuke read this perfectly. He did. And Vortex is going to go for the challenge. This is so cheeky. Stun out. Nade won't connect. Vortex wins the gunfight.
Wow.
And that is a gunfight you need to back up on if you're Nuke.
Yeah, I did not expect to see him take that one there. Big win in the end to clutch the 1v1. Bomb was down on the opposite side of the map, and he elects for the gunfight. Coming out on top to pull his team ahead by 2 straight rounds so far, the offense and defense.
Just a heads-up play all around. Textbook throughout the stun, throughout the nade. Why not move him out of position and go for the challenge? Vortex can hit those shots, but you're looking at Nuke with a Krieg in hand. He should win that gunfight. Instead,
Absolutely.
It's a little bit over-aggressive, right? Trying to peek that bomb a little bit too early in a situation where you would just expect him to back up and wait for the bomb to be planted, Fox.
That's certainly what I expected to see happen there, but instead he loses the long-range engagement to the submachine gun player. So, of course, that's going to be in the back of his mind moving forward. That's got to be frustrating to lose a 1v1 that way, especially when you had the edge on him in terms of knowing where he was at. Now, all 4 players from the side of 67K bum rushing the B bomb site, overwhelming the 2 enemy players on Orglis that they meet there. That's Nasty and Harry. Bomb is planted by 67K. They still have 4 up. So this is going to be a full retake that Orglis need to complete.
And Vortex just says, screw it, I'm going to try to get the gunfight, and he's not able to find anything. He gets taken out by the nade. Numbers quickly fall. 1v2. Josh against Beans and Niall. Josh going to peek correctly. He's going to challenge and tries to fly out, but the positioning was much better, and 67K will get their first round on the board.
Wow, he's fearless. Just leaps straight off the balcony to try and find the next kill in that 1v3. Of course, odds heavily stacked against him there. Very unlikely to come out of that one alive. Is certainly a tough fight to battle, a tough battle to fight. 67K do get their first round on the board, and we're looking to the eyes of Vortex, who has the most kills in the lobby. Also the bomb carrier for the team in this offensive round. Previously, we saw that it was Nasty. And moving up towards the A bomb site is going to be 3 different players from Orglis. The play call to leave Josh behind at the B site. Again, you mentioned earlier, he is that he tends to be that in-game leader for his teams. Probably at the head of the shot calling and playing for a lot of information that he can see looking over the middle of the map here. Beans is going to be the closest one to him, and probably the toughest gun engagement he'll find in this matchup. AR versus AR. Josh puts shots down range onto Nuke, who backs up and gets away with his life. Beans, of course, hearing this,
able to pick up first blood.
Yeah, big stop right there as he's going to hold his position on middle map. Great spot to be in.
Nasty. Saiyan is in a
looking,
perfect
right?
position to play spoiler. Yeah, seriously. I mean, you know they're in visitors. It just depends on whether or not they've overextended up the beach and if your sub's going to be there. Unfortunately, it will be that. Nasty wins the gunfight. 2 will fall. 2v1. Nasty and Harry versus Nuke. Nuke wins 1 more. And 67k close it out. So beachfront was locked down. Nuke wasn't letting anyone up to visitors. And on the other side, Niall can just kind of sit and wait. Beans opens up the round with the first blood on Josh, you see there. And what a great retake, or I guess not even a retake, just a great hold there from Nuke to not relinquish his position and just play his life until he found the numbers.
6 kills to his name, and we saw how crucial Beans was that round in his position near hedges behind the blue van. Just a lane like that, you're able to see so many different lines of sight in terms of where the enemy team's going to be playing towards the A site. And of course, playing off of that information, you can relay that to the players that are playing closer to the objective. This time around on offense, we see 67k sending all 4 players to B. They'll be met by 3 different players on Orglis on the site. 6, 7, and 8, Nasty, Steve, and Vortex ready and waiting to pounce. They know their prey is just around the corner, as they are perfectly fine leaving Josh all alone at the A site as the lurker. Looks like the first gun engagement is going to go down now. Saiyan is going to find Vortex. That's a big first blood. We know how huge those can be for offensive team space.
I don't think they know Harry's on the other side, but they certainly suspect it. Yep. They must know numbers are still stacked onto A. Or excuse me, B. Harry hasn't moved. That's actually probably the best case scenario. That bomb overextends to the back. Niall, you can see him on the corner of your screen. Just waiting for that first kill to open up the site. Bean's able to find Josh. Harry gonna challenge. He'll take him down. Now comes Niall up the steps.
Oh, the trophy. Swats it right out of his hand. I like the patience out of Harry, though. He's rewarded with the kill and gets out with his life. He's got the support of Nasty now, but they're in a 2v3. Bomb carrier just next to the site with a trophy system next to him. And we saw how much of a difference it made the first time around. If he decides to go for that plant, which he does, he should be able to complete it. 45 seconds on the clock now. It's up to Orglis in this 1 versus 3 with Harry to try and clutch it out.
Oh, he's going to spot him. Wins the first gunfight, but now you're in a bad spot. Numbers will collapse. 29 seconds to go. Harry, 1v3. Make it a 1v2. 6 and 3. Harry's going to overextend. He's going to work through the back. He's going to cut down Beans. Now it's a Nuke. 1v1. This is not a great way to give away site control, but you play time. And Harry can't find anything. This might be a null round. It will be. Harry's going to hop off and say, look, if we go to around 11, we'd rather have defense. We're going to play the kill count. And Nuke does his job.
Yep, Nuke just playing his position, playing time, waiting it out for the detonation there. We saw the makings of a 1v3, but they decide not to give it to him. Wise decision, I would say. You see Beans again, constantly connecting with these shots at long range. He does it in respawn and carries it over in search and destroy as well.
Second round in a row, he's been able to pick up first blood specifically on Josh. So someone in that Orglis comms just needs to be like,
5.
Yeah, like someone in the Orglis comms just needs to be like, hey, Josh, I'm going to be the IGL now. Stop getting first blooded.
Josh, of course, playing for that information, left behind once again as the other 3 players go towards the A site. They trust him in that role. We'll have to see how it plays out for him throughout the rest of this map. 2 players just on the site around the corner from him on B, but most of the action should be unfolding on the A site as Orglis have committed 3 different players to it, and Vortex is getting up close and personal. Met with Beans, who, again, plants his feet and is not moving. He puts one in between the eyes of Vortex, and now the offensive team finds themselves down 1 man. Nuke in a perfect spot to be an AR player.
And this seems to be 3 rounds in a row where they've had first blood and they have just rallied that consistently, but 2 kills fall and Josh able to pick up one of them. Niall rotates to the back and cuts down Piano. Bomb will go down from Nasty. It's a 2v2. Nasty and Harry versus Niall and Beans. Nasty escapes with his life. They know Bomb's down. They don't know that Harry is all the way at the boats in the back. But now they know, and what a shot from Harry to make it a 1v2.
Niall on top of the building, shots down range with the Krieg. He connects with a few crucial ones to buy him some time, but he's probably giving himself away to player 6, Nasty, who's playing right on top of the bomb site. I think he has an inkling he's there as well. But he has to deal with the guy on boat, and that he does, taking the headshot. Still checking every corner. Nasty's going to win that gunfight. The 1v1 in the end goes in favor of Orglis as they tie it up 3-3. Lots of back and forth so far in the search and destroy. Orglis tends to find the most success when Beans is not alive.
That's the game plan now. Just take away Beans and you might have a chance, but they lose first blood again, Fox. And even though they're able to rally it and they play, the plant, they play time correctly and they force 67K to come to them. Another round where they lose that first blood and Vortex has lost like the following engagement. So you're already down 2 players quickly into the round.
Looking through the eyes of bomb carrier Nile, who's already got 2 plants to his name so far this game. We saw 1 successful detonation on the B bomb site just a few rounds ago, and now the team is elected to play towards the A site, where they will be met by Vortex just around the corner. Huge stop for the bomb carrier right there. Will he get away with his life? That he does, because he has the supporting fire over his shoulder on Tiki. And now we can just kind of hug that corner. And this is such a tough spot to be in if you're 67K, because you have to go over to the A site, but you're outnumbered and the bomb is down in such an awkward position.
Mm-hmm. Awkward, horrible, awful position, all those kinds of things. I mean, what do you do? Rotating through the back, it's Vortex. If Vortex finds one, this round's done. Yeah,
this flank, if he's able to be successful, is huge for them. Even just getting those shots off, it's just strike fear into the hearts of 67K. And they now have to look for him. 1 player unaccounted for, several that could potentially flank, a looming pinch as these players are just kind of around the middle of the map. But it looks like they're going to commit towards the B bomb site, and they lose 1 player on the way.
Big win from Nasty. Massive win from Nasty. That cuts down mid-map. There's really nowhere the bomb can rotate to except towards back alley. And again, Saiyan was already back there with the bomb, but Nasty wins his gunfight. You've essentially locked down the round. And a great play from Orglis to kind of slow the bleeding, because they were up 2-0. They give up 3 rounds. Now they take 2 back of their own. 4-3. Josh at 2-6, not having the greatest game, but Harry certainly is 9-4. On the other side, it's really just been Nuke and Beans who have kind of propelled the 67K roster into a sizable lead in the S&D. They relinquished the last 2 rounds. First blood goes the way of Orglis, and we look at Vortex as the bomb carrier. Pretty standard strat so far for Orglis as they're going to commit to A.
Sending 2 to A this time. Previously, we've seen that it was 3, and that they would leave Josh behind, but it's going to be both Josh and Nasty staying towards B. Nasty overlooking middle map. 2 players working the beach there. They got Nuke J at long range. Hopefully they have an AR ready to try and take him out. Of course, at a distance is player number 8. That's Harry, finding his 10th kill this game, and he's connecting with the long shot from downtown. Beans still in his favorite position right next to the A site. He's not going to be able to stop the bomb planter. He probably won't get him after he plants either. I expect to see Vortex get away with his life again. And so
Beans
now he's
in
got
a horrible spot. Yep, never mind.
Yeah,
I don't know why
taken
I
down. Taken down. 2 versus 3 now. It's going to be up to Saiyan and Nile. But beach is on lock. They got their favorite setup with 1 player on the boat, 1 next to the bomb on the beach. And they even have a lurker in the form of Nasty who's just wasting their time, making a lot of noise and getting their attention. And it ends up bringing them to map point. Orglis potentially up 2-0 in this series if they can find 1 more round. We talked about how dominant the ARs would be on a map like this, and you see these long shots and just how important they are.
It's magical what First Blood can do in 4v4. Just how much easier S&D becomes when you don't have to worry about a constant hit onto the site. You can take your time. Josh still looking for his 3rd kill, but Harry at 10-4, and Nasty and Vortex dead even across the board in terms of their scoreline. 8-5, 8-5. They're both having a great game in game 2. Bark, bark. And Orglis, 67K. This one could be done at 6-3.
And so we're noticing, as you mentioned, those first bloods, when Bean stopped getting them, things started slipping straight towards in favor of Orglis. Very quickly, Harry finds another first blood. He ends up being taken down on the balcony. Vortex is going to replace him. The bomb is down just underneath him, as well as a player that's a Nuke who should be lurking and coming up on him soon. The submachine gun player's just down the stairs. Piano control is everything. Oh, he's just coming up for it. He's ready and waiting. They both have the information. They know they're both looking for each other. Sniffing for him like a bloodhound as he's trying to find the bomb as well. But being caught at a distance, balcony was on lock. Again, the AR players coming up in a huge way, and now it's Beans left in a 1v2.
he can isolate these gunfights, he might have a chance, but you're running out of time very quickly. And you have to rotate through mid-map. And just the numbers are spread out for Orgless. There's really no other way they're going to look.
So we're waiting to see it unfold here. 13 seconds remain. Really, they just got to run away. But you could also just peek out, find the easy kill, and the player caught off guard. That's the 6th round win for Orgless. I kind of mentioned I expected this one to be a bit competitive. It was for the first 6 rounds. We were tied up at 3-3, but I think that in the end, it came down to Orgless being able to respond and adapt to the way that 67K was playing. We saw that Beans was dictating the outcome of a lot of the initial rounds in that game. And in conclusion, it was going to be Orgless that was able to adapt and close it out.
Yeah, and the adaptation came really just not getting first blooded. When Josh stopped getting first blooded by Beans, they stopped giving away that power position mid-map. They started to make 67K force that bomb upfield, and when they couldn't do that, Orgless punished. Vortex was taking his gunfights more appropriately. They were thinking through their progressions on the map, and you can just tell that once they kind of got back in the game, they tied up 3-3, and they made it 4-3, and then they just never relinquished that lead. Let's look at the replays of the map, because Beans and Nuke were really having a day when it came to the first couple of rounds. But after that, after the first bloods had fallen, Orgless just kind of restabilized and reaffirmed their position on the map. And after that, they never looked back. They went on to win 6-3. But again, just it was an impressive showing, right? Like Beans and Nuke showing you that this duo, this AR duo, can certainly hang with the best of them in S&D. But when the first blood isn't there for this roster, when the first blood doesn't come through, how do you play through the map? How do you play for trades? They just weren't able to do it.
Yeah, and it's a tough call, right? They were so used to just kind of playing around Beans and letting him find that first poke at that first pick at the enemy team, and then when that didn't happen, it just seemed like Orgless they were able to all the cards were just dealt perfectly for them, right? Everything played very well into their hands.
It did, and now we look at, again, a Control coming up next, and this is going to be an interesting one because if I remember correctly, we have Checkmate up next, and we just saw that game 1 on the same map, and while the subs were certainly eating, and while Vortex was certainly having himself a day, it was the ARs again. It was Beans and Nuke that stood out to me in the overextension, so I wonder, will they have the same impact going into Checkmate, because this is certainly a game type where you can make this a 2-1 series if your ARs have an easy time picking apart the other players, and so far they've been winning the matchup against Josh. I think it's safe to say that Nuke and Beans have been having a very successful series. It just comes down to everyone else contributing, and now we look at Checkmate Control. So Fox, on a map and mode like this where A is so difficult to lock down, that is where you need your ARs in the outskirts to cut down the subs coming in for the early progression. I think this is one where if you're a fan of this roster, if you're a fan of 67K or of Nuke and Beans, you're probably feeling pretty confident going into this game.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen how competent they could be even against a strong team like Orgless. That first hardpoint, 250 to 200, was close and back and forth from start to finish. They looked very well composed, and they were certainly able to stand up to the veterans that we see on the side of Orgless. So as we get into this Checkmate Control, I don't know. It's as much as a 3-0 is certainly possible from the side of Orgless. I think that 67K easily has that potential to surprise us. In the end, though, Space, I want to know, what do you see at this point as we're seeing Orgless up 2-0? Do you think that if they can take this map, that they could force a game 5?
I think that if they take this map, it's going to be difficult going into raid because, again, it's going to come down a lot to the sub pressure, both in P2 and Kitchen, and also when you're working back down the driveway on rotation to Lambo. I think that the subs and at least the play style of being very quick engagements and slow on transition might favor Orgless going into raid because they can make up for those mistakes with their ability to slay out a hill. But I think that 67K have the potential. It just comes down to how they play, obviously, in this Checkmate, but this is probably the best map and mode combo you could ask for if you're 67K, given how you've been playing so far today, to send this series the distance. They need to come out and they need to have that same consistency, and that comes down to the ARs and the continuity so far in this series. Let's get into the game. Let's waste no more time, and I'm very, very excited to watch Nuke and Beans and see if they can keep up that same aggression they've had so far.
And you kind of mentioned the age and the youth that's on the side of 67K. You have to wonder how they handle it mentally, being in a league match, being down 0-2 to one of the toughest teams in their region. Certainly that's something that has to weigh on you mentally as a player, and you need to be able to push past that and just play it like it's any other game.
And we saw a bunch of both this map and mode combo yesterday, and many times it came down to the offense being able to easily secure both points, but we also saw the clock come into play, and there were moments where neither team were able to pick up all the kills, and we just had to end the game there. I don't know if we'll see a similar situation. I doubt we will, just kind of given how this series has gone so far, and the responses from both ARs on each team has been pretty interesting. So I'm looking forward to, again, just kind of seeing how the subs do. I'm interested to seeing if Josh can have a bit of a better performance than he had in that S&D. But still, while we wait for the game to get going, looking at the rest of the series, you have Raid coming up after this if we need to go there, and then Raid S&D. So Raid Hardpoint, Raid S&D. At this moment, you're up 2-0 if you're Orgless. But having Raid back-to-back, regardless of the fact that it's Hardpoint and S&D, that still, I feel, favors them because you're playing on a map that, you know, even just want to look at Josh and Vortex, who has been in the scene for quite some time.
Right.
This is a map where a slower AR like Josh can easily have a bounce back in a series. So I do think it favors them going forward if they push this the distance.
Oh yeah, you don't want to wait too long and let him heat up, right? Like that's been his playground for at least a decade now. Don't let him go right back to his hometown. Raid is such a familiar environment to these veterans, and you don't want to let it get to that point. The younger players on the side of 67K are finding themselves down 0-2 in this series. You can't be down in the dumps about it. You got to remain composed, be professional, come through and try and commit to that reverse sweep.
And one of the things that Orgless does really well is when the chaos happens on a map like Checkmate and on a mode like Control, they direct the traffic pretty well. Like Josh is able to put his subs and flexes in the best position possible to help contribute, whether it's on offense or defense. And I'm looking for that same kind of intrinsic value on the other side for 67K. If Beans and Nuke are having good games, but Nile and Sand are struggling, or at least on this map mode combo, how do you direct traffic and how do you control the chaos that's happening? Because this map can get so sporadic and so out of hand so quickly.
That's a good question, and it's really tough to control that ebb and flow on a map like Checkmate. Of course, with it being control game mode, it's a little bit slower, right? You have those limited lives, so it's really going to come down to what your submachine gun players are able to do around lane. It's a bit different from the way that Hardpoint plays out. You know, they don't have to constantly worry about those wall bangs and shoulder peeking and stuff. It's mostly just about misdirection and being quick and fast on your feet. Opening things up, we see Vortex with the most kills, tied at 3 with that of Nile in our first couple waves of engagements here. A little bit of tick progress made onto the A control point so far from Orgless.
Looks like we might be back to the standard as well. I believe it's Beans and Nile both running an AR, and you have Sane and Nuke with subs in hand. But that just means you're going to have to beat the duo of Vortex and Nasty, and that's a hard and tall order to ask and do, but it's certainly possible. Nuke able to pick up one, AR in hand, shuts down at least one, but not able to get the second. Nasty will move into the point, and they'll work on that second bit of progression on A. Still so much to be desired, but at this moment, nades are out. Nile stands no chance. Nuke almost gets cut down, and now Nuke has switched back to the Creek. So the sub didn't work for maybe the first 30 seconds. He says, I'll go back to what I'm familiar with. And so far, it looks like it was the correct decision.
Yeah, Nuke, power position on top of Crate. You talked a little bit about that earlier. You're just able to have such a commanding presence, overlooking so much of that side of the plane, as well as being in support of the A point. And we do see Orgless is able to capture it just that quickly. A minute and a half now is what they have to work with to capture the B point, which is oh so difficult to do. You can get caught from so many different angles, and this is where your submachine gun players shine.
Well, it's 12-12 currently in the life count. Now make that 12-11. As numbers start to dwindle, and you do wonder, how is the hit going to come through? Because this is Orgless's round to win with Nasty shooting like that and locking down the left side of the map. Here comes Nile for the cleanup, but the damage might be done. You have plane control, and you have Harry rotating through the back. He's going to work under the wing, and off spawn is Nasty. Numbers still fall for 67K. No one's been able to go in for a contest. And finally, we have members on the point, so Orgless can commit some resources here. 10-6, you play the trades. You should be able to win round 1.
Nile has been so annoying, staying around the A point and firing on the players at plane, giving them no wiggle room to get behind and disrupt this team. However, the progress is still being made on the B site, as you can see. So we're going to have to expect some of the 67K players to get through and disrupt it. But with no lives remaining, you have to imagine that Orgless, with almost a minute on the clock, should be able to take this one pretty easily. They have a massive advantage at the moment.
And what's really scary to look at is Orgulus have only put one member on the point. Everyone else is near the plane or near mid-map, just hunting for kills. So they feel confident enough in their ability to win key gunfights, and so far it pays off. They take the first round in Game 3. But that's been the interesting thing, right? You don't commit numbers onto the point and try to quickly cap it. You say, no, we're going to put our most positive flex, or excuse me, our most positive sub on the point. If he needs to win a gunfight, we expect him to do it. We have confidence in his ability to do so. And we put everyone else near the plane. So ARs were set from the wing and one AR in the back. I believe that was Josh. So you're just trying to work through funneling the kills and making sure you cut down people moving into the point. That's just confidence as a roster, and that's a good play call that worked out in their favor. Nasty at 10-4, having a good start to this control. Everyone else around even, but all the jobs have been fulfilled, and at this moment they have a lead that looks really, really good.
All right, loading into our next round here, we see Orgulus positioned to close the series out 3-0 so far. Looking good. Josh hops right onto the point for a little bit of defense. No presence on the middle of the map from 67K as the final player falls, but that double kill coming from Nuke should be a huge difference maker in terms of their presence in the middle of the map. The follow-up coming as well from Beans and Nile. Nile falls just that quickly, and we see Beans as well. Nasty, so disruptive, huge 2 kills, 13 kills to his name. That's the most in the lobby. We're seeing on the opposite side, Nuke is going to be the first one to surpass 10 kills. He's just pouring it on. I mean, the pressure that he's able to apply with this submachine gun, he's nuts right now.
Jeez, I mean, Nasty can let that sub sing like an AR at any range, and that's the scary part. He's starting to roam. You need to be able to shut him down if you want any chance, and trophies are almost a necessity if you're going for the A cap. Finally, they get him out of spawn, but look at the damage he's been able to do. He's wasted about a minute off the clock, and you need cabin control, and you need to get towards a point. Maybe B is the call, and maybe that's when you start putting your resources under the wing. At this moment, it looks like it'll be just that. We stop the clock, we slow this game down to a screeching halt. Nile can't win the gunfight. 2 more get cleared out. And as quickly as they get onto the point box, they're getting blown off, and all of this collapse comes through Josh. He gets the headshot to follow on in, and Saiyan, up alive, last alive, needs to find something to keep his team up.
We're seeing a very deflated 67K, I think. Vortex and Nasty have just been able to have their way with them all map long, being so disruptive and active with the submachine gun on the map, and you're seeing it play out again here in your kill feed. A combined 4 streak from those 2 players before one of them falls. Just 8 seconds remaining in the lobby. I mean, they never gave 67K the chance this round.
Yep, and you can even see it. 67K are not moving out of spawn even with 6 seconds to go because, again, this is the situation. They understand they're not going to win the gunfights. They're not going to get onto the point. So if you get lucky enough to send this to a round 5, you want to have the kill count in your favor. You don't want to feed them any extra kills so that you get the defensive round just by how the game rules work on control. So an interesting call and pretty much the correct call, knowing that you can't win the subsequent trades. So just don't feed them any more kills. If this goes to a round 5, you might be able to get defense, but at this moment you're already down 2-0 and you're on the brink of being swept out in the series. You just gotta at least have some more passion.
Nasty approaching 20 kills, 19 interactions with the objective, as you can see as well. And that's going to be a huge part of the reason why we see Orgulus up 2-0. It's been his contribution alongside Vortex. Presence certainly being felt. Harry with some very timely kills as well. So playing around the street here, Nasty, everyone contributing to just wipe the enemy team. You got to wonder what Nile and Saiyan can really do here in this situation. Nile finding 1 kill on the defense, but they're still trying to work their way out of their spawn while A progress is being obtained.
Out on the wing, it was Nile, and now you need that call. You need to at least stay alive for reinforcements to come up off spawn, and then go for a team wipe. It's okay to give up A. I know it's the harder one to contest, but still, now you need to commit resources to mid-map, and it comes down to just having mid-map control. They haven't had it throughout the majority of this game, and that comes through the plane. That's 4 dead. A big team wipe. 67K desperately needed a play like that, and they finally get it.
They needed that one for sure, but they got to do that again for 2 minutes straight now because of how quickly Orgulus was able to capture A point. So coming up off spawn, expect to see 67K keep the pressure up as we saw from the submachine guns of Orgulus were able to do last round. Those 2 players up towards street, Josh and Vortex, are hoping to get past Beans. They're not able to do so as the submachine gun player stays alive. He's not running the Krieg like we've seen him do this entire series. Looks like he just had a submachine gun in his back pocket that he was using temporarily. So great survivability from him. That's exactly where you needed him to be and what you needed him to do. As we have a minute and a half left, there's still plenty of time for Orgulus to make this happen as Vortex is disrupting their middle map control.
And Vortex is now roaming like what we just saw Nasty do earlier. Again, picking up kills left and right. Every time he's alive, you feel like he's able to go on these quick little sprees of 2, 3, 4 kills. And that could just be a backbreaker for a defense that has to contest this B point. Harry's now snapping. Numbers fall. 14-14. Dead even. But you feel like the tides have shifted, and it feels like Orglis are going to be able to cap this point. But I'll give credit where credit is due. 67K have now got some map pressure, and they have control of the bottom of the plane, and that is where the point is. They're going to go for the decap, and I love this aggression from Beans. If he wins one gunfight, they're going to be able to completely neutralize B, and now comes down to the collapse, but that's 3 kills, and 67K, again, win the team wipe, and they have taken back mid-map pressure from Orglis.
I mean, Saiyan has gone completely uncontested on yellow side. Like, he was just able to do whatever he wanted and fire shots down or fire shots onto the plane. And now he's behind them and he's going to put pressure on their spawn. So they're going to have to deal with him first before they can get out of there. Which 30 seconds left, it's going to be a tough one. Also, only 5 lives remaining. I mean, these guys are just in a really awful spot.
This is such a big round win from 67K. It's 11-4. Look how far up pushed they are. I mean, Niall's on a 5 spree. You can tell the confidence is now coming back into this roster. They've pushed up into the spawn. They're finding all of the kills. Niall, 6 in a row. He'll finally get cut down. 8 seconds to go, but overextended. It is Harry. He doesn't win the gunfight. That was the one they needed to win to get near the point, and Saiyan shuts down both in the plane. It's going to be a first round win for 67K. And you talked about it, Fox. You said they won that first team fight. Now they have to win it for the next 2 minutes. They essentially did just that.
Oh, yeah, they applied the pressure. I mean, we saw it unfold right there. Niall was not letting up. Absolutely relentless. The submachine gun players, like I mentioned. Player number 7, you get to see it here again in the best play kill cam. He was able to just stay around yellow crates, put shots down on plane, and then move up into the spawn and just be a nuisance. And they just waste their time. Waste their time.
I wonder how are they going to, again, play this next round, because you are on offense. And they're going to be looking at a similar situation for Orglis, where you can now kind of sit back and try to go for a team wipe and keep them spawn trapped. Trophy system's out early, and it looks like the call is going to be moved to B first, and then we'll worry about A, but you have to get some plane control. Nasty has been here so many times. Again, we'll find 3 kills, 28-15, about to drop 30.
Oh, that's Nasty. Here he goes killing again. About to hit 30 in this game on a 3 streak. They're looking for him. They found him, and it's still not enough. He's just gunning. Finally taken down, all tagged up before he can find the 30th kill. Vortex is trying to just set pretty on top of the A point. He has a little bit of competition around him, as you can see. Niall. He breaks 20 kills, stops the capture, or stops the defense, and begins the capture.
Vortex gets picked off, and Harry's on the back line. Harry now trying to reestablish some patience and some rhythm in that plane, make his subs jobs easier to move in. But again, it's a good showing from 67K. With as much chaos as there has been, they've been able to respond appropriately and kind of quell that loud noise.
Yeah, I mean,
Josh,
the fortitude, you said, the fortitude of 67K to hold on for this long is certainly impressive. Definitely commendable. Trying to work their way onto this A site here, and they're doing just that as they're able to find some key engagements. However, Orglis respond just that quickly and shut it all down with 3 straight for them. We see Nasty on a 4 streak. He's been doing this all game long behind enemy lines. This is what we actually got to see Saiyan do in the closing moments of the last round. Now we're going to get to see it on the opposite side. A 5 streak from Nasty. He's just so annoying in this spawn. It's a bit too aggressive there, I think, and ends up getting tagged up by multiple players. But just look at how much time is left on the clock. 15 seconds remain. Only 9 lives left for 67K, and they have yet to capture a point.
Yeah, that was just both disrespectful and impressive at the same time. Finally, they get on to B. But Nasty is 36-19. I mean, he's about to drop a 40 bomb in control. This is unprecedented. 9 lives remaining, and you have all the room to work with if you're Orglis. It's just play the trades. Throw a couple of utility out. Take out the trophy systems, and you can win this game. But a hell of a fight 67K have to put up. Harry finds 1. Nuke on your screen. He will win the gunfight against Vortex. 1 more fall.
Wow.
He stands no chance. 12-4, and a ratio of 3-1 now. This is almost impossible, and with that kill, it will be. Orglis win it. They take them off the point, and oh my god, Nasty with an MVP-like performance in this series, let alone this game. Almost drops 40 kills and was just eating in the spawn.
I mean, that was nuts. Ali, you got a front row seat to watch Nasty kind of just run laps around the map. We get to see it again here in the best play kill cam. What did you make of that matchup?
I mean, it's exactly as you said. It was nasty across the board. I mean, almost dropping 40 in control is insane, especially because the rest of his teammates, like, their engagements were so low, and they could be just because he was single-handedly shutting down 67K, especially in that control. So for Orgos to go up 3-0 against them, I mean, that's got to be a huge boost for them in this season too.
Let's look at those replays, because I'm positive it's mostly just, you know, Vortex and Nasty, but here is the recap of the entire series. And wow, I mean, game one was a little bit closer, right? 250 to 200, Orgos were able to take it. Then we go to S&D and we look at the first 3, 4, 5 rounds where it was basically First Blood City. I mean, 67K were able to capitalize on a bunch of key gunfights that came from Beans winning the 1v1 over Josh. And then things started to crumble quickly. The First Bloods weren't really there, and they were losing those individual gunfights out and separated. And then we moved to Control, which out from that one round, other than that one defensive hold the 67K were able to pull off, I mean, Fox, it really came down to playing Control for me, for Nasty and Vortex, and the ability for Vortex and Nasty to spawn up and have moments where it feels like they're just going to go on a rampage of 5 or 6 or 7 kills. I mean, they are one of, if not the best duos in Europe, and they show you why they are so dangerous in game modes like Control.
They were just annoying, right? Always in your face, always a thorn in your side. Their presence was felt from start to finish. I mean, Vortex really gave you no choice but to see him. 40 kills, right. He was always in the interactions. I mean, how many lives do you get to start a round and all of them went to the back pocket of Nasty? Just nuts.
He was about to drop 40 kills, and you know, we talked a lot about this being a map and a mode where we expected 67K in terms of like Nuke and Beans to have a big showing, and maybe this is the catalyst for them to have success in the series. Maybe it can help propel them to a better hardpoint performance in a game 4. But I feel like even though that was a hopeful optimism, certainly a talking point that did matter, we also kind of just overlooked the fact that Vortex and Nasty still exist, and they still like to eat on this map through the plane. And they showed you why, being an X Factor and MVP-like caliber performance, and during any day, any scrim, whatever, why it can be so detrimental to any team that plays them. Now let's look at the schedule for today, because we have just gone through all of Europe, and we saw 2 3-0s. It was an interesting day. It was Connect 4 to 3-0 Train Hard earlier, and we just watched Orgless, and more importantly, I should say, we just watched Nasty and Vortex 3-0 67K. It was a dominant performance across the board. But coming up, it is North America. It's UT Crew and Built by Gamers, Aerial Arise, and Wester. Ali, I know you're very, very excited for one of these matchups. Talk to me a little bit before we go to a break. Talk to me a little bit about which one you're keeping your eye on.
Honestly, I'm keeping my eye on both space. I know I opened today with coming in our chat, and it was just like, I want to do both the NA matches. I'm so excited. I want to see what these teams can do. When we look at Built by Gamers, I'm so excited to see their roster with the addition of Pentagram. You know, seeing if they slowly start to play catch up when it comes in to catching up to some of the rest of these teams, because they've definitely been a little bit middle of the pack, a little bit down and out. And then we have Aerial, Rise, and Wester. Obviously, everybody wants to see Wester and what they can do in this insane roster, and I've talked about how much I love this roster. So, of course, I want to see what they can do against this new blood that's all aboard on Aerial Rise.
Well, at this point, we haven't seen any QBZs in Europe, which just means North America has to provide that requirement, right? It's the rule of law here in the Challenger Series, and now we throw it to a break, and we throw it to a commercial time, because we have to get all of our North American players ready, but that means we have so much action still yet to come. Remember to come back at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern for the start of Day 2 of North America. It's going to be an exciting one, and oh, I can't wait to see the QBZs come out in full force. It's going to be great, and we'll see you guys in a couple hours.